Good morning to one and all present today. I request all of you to please be seated. I request all the volunteers. I request all the volunteers to bring the guests, escort the guests inside.
Hello, test. Check one.
I request everyone to please be seated and keep your cell phones on silent.
Hello, test.
I request all the volunteers to please proceed in. I once again welcome you all to the AIMS convention, our third day of the convention. Kindly be seated. And we begin with our fourth panel discussion on excellence through digitally blended learning. We welcome our moderator, Ms. Anuja Shukla, Senior Vice President, Cloud and Advanced Technologies, Bank of America. Our speaker, Mr. Chintan Oza, Founder, Anantam Ecosystems, Regional Director, Founder Institute. And our speaker, Ms. Nikita Raut, Assistant General Manager, Bank of Baroda. I request our panelists, our dignitaries to please introduce. If you would. Yeah. We have ma'am also. Actually, there was a request from them.
No problem. Please, Professor. Chintan, we can just be seated. Yeah. Or
thank you, Chanpreet ma'am. As rightly shared by my colleague, excellence through digitally blended learning. I think we all overheard the address given by the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi ji, that the Digital India movement of developing semiconductors, entering the 5G era, spreading the network of optical fibers, is not just to establish ourselves as modern and developed, but it is possible because of three intrinsic missions, and they are the complete transformation of the education ecosystem, revolution in health infrastructure, and improvement in the quality of agricultural life. But let me tell you, the august audience, that this is all possible only through digitalization. As shared by the Honorable Prime Minister, India would definitely march ahead phenomenally in this decade, which is hailed as the decade for humanity. This is how we actually misunderstand it. It is a decade of technology, and in the field of IT India, definitely our country has got that force to reckon globally. We have the competencies to contribute in this decade. But let me share, how do we go about this? And that's the reason the AIMS convention has categorically chosen this topic, excellence through digitally blended learning, for this panel discussion. And I think we couldn't have had a better panel that we see on the dais today. Thank you so much for accepting our invites, all the honorable dignitaries on the dais. And I take this opportunity to introduce the illustrious panel in front of you. We have with us Ms. Anuja Shukla ji, who's the moderator for today's panel discussion, Excellence Through Digitally Blended Learning. To speak about ma'am, she's currently the Senior Vice President, Cloud and Advanced Technologies, Bank of America. She's got a beautiful amalgamation of technology and people management, something which is a rare asset. A hands-on technology leader with more than 20 years of experience, building and maintaining large-scale distributed systems and solving problems at scale. She's leading a globally high-performing and motivated team to deliver solutions. An executive leader with masters in computer science from North Carolina State University, United States of America, with rich experience in cross-functional areas, including business, IT transformation, and international work experience with one of the big daddies of the software conglomerate, which is Google and Microsoft. Held in multiple roles at Google, including building COEs for SI partners to lead Google's cloud platform startup initiative in India. Having a rich experience working with early to mid-stage startups, helping them with their MVP to monetization journey. She's been a mentor at Google's Launchpad Accelerator for Startups, a technology advisor for startups building in machine learning, artificial intelligence for fintech solutions. Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm sure the August audience is waiting to hear the panel discussion from you. We have our next speaker, Mr. Chintan Ozaji, who is the founder of Anantam Ecosystems and also the regional director of Founder Institute. Over 22 years of experience in telecom and ICT domain. He's an alumnus of IIT Mumbai, UC Berkeley, and University of Oxford. Recently completed innovation and technology commercialization professional certification from Georgia Tech. And I think that's something that he's still learning, and he still calls himself a student. He's spent equal part of his career with Reliance and Tata Group in deploying strategic projects at national and international level. He's the local leader of Founder Institute in Mumbai, and presently he's a regional director helping the Founder Institute expand in India. He works actively with young entrepreneurs like you and helps them go through market strategy and scaling up with technology. Active volunteers at several organizations, to name few, Rotary International. He's also on the advisory board of various startups. He's also a part of the investment committee for multiple venture capital funds and collaborates with syndicates and angel investors. We are fortunate to have you, sir, for this panel discussion. And we have somebody very special, and she is Ms. Nikita Raut. She's currently the learning head, vice principal for the Training Center, Bank of Baroda, Mumbai. And something which is, I'm sure, when the panel discussion will unravel, you would see a lot of things that she's actually working hands-on in the L&D area, which, yes, and she's experimenting a lot with digitalization out there as well. And human resources leader with more than a decade of experience, she has been influencing, developing, and motivating people across the country to transform lives. Born without sight, but definitely a great vision. She believes that no adversity has the power over us. It is our attitude that defines our success in life. Currently, she's pursuing her PhD in human resource management. She's completed diploma in training and development from the Indian Society for Training and Development. And I would like to make a special mention about her that she's done her master's in Indian classical singing. And the list is actually endless. I could just go on and on, but due to the paucity of time, I'm just highlighting the key things that we could speak about. She secured first rank in the merit list of the visually impaired students in the state board in the SSC examination. She joined Bank of Baroda in 2009 as manager HR, and she rose to the position of senior leadership as assistant general manager in Bank of Baroda. Here, the awards to her credit. She's received the national award in the category of best employee, conferred upon her by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, awarded by the Honorable President of India. Can we have a huge round of applause for ma'am, please? Thank you so much. She's also received Achiever of Excellence Award by Bombay Management Association for demonstrating excellence in the field of academics and corporate world. crowned Miss Mullen College of Commerce, a rare combination of beauty plus brains. Her passion includes singing, an accomplished singer, and she sung for All India Radio for over 10 years. This is not just Liz. She believes in one thing, that she wants to touch people's lives. And especially she works hard for the betterment of people with disabilities. And yes, the last credo that she has is she believes in leading her life on the principle of her blood group, that is, be positive. I request our respected panelists, Ms. Shukla ma'am, to please take over the panel discussion. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Alrighty, so firstly, thanks a lot everyone for coming here today on a Saturday morning. I think 80% of the battle is won when you have such an enthusiastic audience. So thanks a lot for that. Secondly, I think this whole topic of learning for us is important, and I feel that AIMS is doing such a fab job in terms of bringing so much of relevant topics for us, to discuss over here, because if we don't do it now, it's probably too late to have done that, right? So coming to this whole thing of blended learning, as you see, we're talking about that. One of the takeaways that I wanted for all of us over here was that as educationists, as students coming from corporates, right? I think we all want to read the tea leaves, right? We've already seen so much happen in the last 2 years. We want to now look into the future, which is probably what all of us want to do, and take away from here that what is it that we can do right away to incorporate in what we're doing in our daily lives, right? And of course, Chintan is going to be talking about that in detail. But I think what I always hear, right, there's an art of storytelling. I want to tell you all something which is so interesting, which gives an example of the times we are living in, right? So there's a very, very celebrated professor, Professor David Malan. He's a Harvard professor, and he's actually was the first one to start the CS50 course, right? Now, CS50 is a very base level course, and I know, Chintan, you're nodding because we both connected to him on LinkedIn, right? David Malan championed this whole thing much before COVID pandemic, this whole hybrid learning, right? And he decided to democratize learning, the CS50, in the way that he videotaped his sessions, and they're all of some 50, 60 sessions, right? And he put it out on YouTube, right? And of course, it's been, I think he's had more than 1 million views on EDX where he's posted this particular piece, right? But this is one part of it, right? The second part of it is one fine day during the COVID pandemic, he posted on his LinkedIn that today I had a wonderful experience from this entire vaccination journey, right from the time I entered my details and and I went to the Walmart store where they were doing these vaccinations, right? And I came out in 5 minutes flat, absolutely so happy with the systems in place. He posted this, and within 5 minutes, the LinkedIn post was updated by a person who said that, sir, 8 years ago, I did your CS50, and he's in Bangalore, this person, this gentleman who replied, and he said, I was one of the key persons instrumental in designing the system at Walmart, right? And I'm hired by Walmart in Bangalore. And it just goes to show that, which is a favorite line, right? That geography is now history. This course has been taught somewhere in one part of the world. It was consumed by somebody, implemented, and it's changed the lives of so many people, right? And I think this is the theme of the whole part about learning, that it is changing our lives phenomenally. We don't even realize it. And we are in the midst of action for this particular piece, right? So, and with that theme in mind, right, I want to ask Chintan, this whole question that we are very keen to look into the future. So, give us some gyan on what do you see being in this field for so long, that what are the main parts for us as a takeaway, and what do you see for students, educationists, and for institutions to adopt?
So every technology enters this world via education sector. You are the gurus who teach the technology, and then afterwards it gets into industry. And that is something, it has been a wave of tech which has been in education domain. With start of pandemic, we were not used to operate via Zoom. Almost 80% of faculties were not used to have a Zoom call. They did not have a Zoom call. And then across the world, this is an average of 80% of the population were not familiar with Zoom. But within 2 weeks of time, everyone learned, and then the transition to the hybrid class began, and then that is how we are still continuing. Teachers are the most forward-looking people who are willing to learn and try and teach new technologies. So, and here we are beginning the next decade. The decade is full of technology, be it metaverse, be it Web3, be it blockchain, be it drones. These are the techs that next generation is awaiting for you to master and teach them. So this.
Super. Nikita, over to you. And if you have the, just hand over the mic. Yeah.
Thank you, Anuja.
So while we are looking at the future, right, you've had a very interesting experience in Bank of Baroda, right, where during the pandemic, you all went through a huge transformation yourselves, right? And it was suddenly reaching out to folks who had never probably, you know, seen a screen of a laptop, to suddenly these guys adopting to, you know, the different lifestyle of working. So what are your thoughts and what were your learnings as well?
Sure. Thank you, Anuja, and a very good morning, everyone. So while I'm from the corporate, but I'm very much, connected to the education, because as it was said in my introduction, that I do head the training center of the bank. Pandemic, while it had certain setbacks and a lot of personal losses, but there were certain good things that COVID gave us, if you look at it from a positive side. And one of the good thing was it made us a little more fall in love with the gadgets, or fall in love with the digital arena altogether. And, Anuja asked a very pertinent question about Bank of Baroda and how we adopted that. The reason why, we thought we could bring out this point in discussion is sort of just to wild away the myth that digital or blended learning is not just for persons, for millennials or for young people, maybe below 20, 25, 30. It also, if required and if wished, can be adopted by much senior people in age, and even those people who have never been tech savvies at all. So I'll just spend about 30 seconds giving you the profile of Bank of Baroda in terms of the demographics. So we have an employee base of about 80,000 people. And almost 4 generations work in the bank, right from 18 or 19 years of age to about 60 years of age, and sometimes even beyond in rare cases. So when the pandemic set in and the lockdown was announced, I got a call from my HR and saying that, okay, now trainings is one thing which we are going to stop completely. Because prior to pandemic, we used to only have the classroom trainings. And I was completely freezed and thought, ki, ab hamara kya hoga? How will I keep my team engaged? And then suddenly, maybe in a span of 1 week or 2 weeks, we started, thinking as to how should training go on when business is going on, when banking is going on, and Modi ji had announced that bankers ko lockdown nahi hoga. So jab business chal raha hai, to training kaise band ho sakti hai? It cannot function in isolation. And then we all came up, we brainstormed and we said, nothing doing. We will start giving these small training, small nuggets over videos. We'll start making videos or even audio messages, and we'll start circulating them onto our employee groups. Then starting from there, we gathered the courage to actually have that full-fledged training of 1 day, 2 day, even more than that on, we use the platform Microsoft Teams and not Zoom officially. So we started conducting these trainings online. Okay. So when we started, the biggest challenge was my team who had some senior people. He said, they were saying, madam, हम इसको करेंगे कैसे? सिर्फ screen को देख के कैसे बोलेंगे? We are used to having bunch of 25-30 people in our classrooms and talking to them, and there is a lot of discussion that happens. ये खाली laptop के सामने हम कैसे बोलेंगे? ऐसे करना तो है. So we found out some strategies. We started brainstorming कैसे करना है, and then it was a long journey. It was completely new for us, but it went on so well. I'll give you some examples. Not just the people who are in the forefront or who are young and who are tech savvy, even those people who were nearing retirement. Like we used to have a program called Life Begins at 60. This program is a program for those who are retiring in a particular month. So basically it's a 2-day motivational plus a second inning life program. We even conducted that program online, and we did we in the normal classroom we used to have cultural activity, koi aage gana gaega, koi apni experience share karega. We even made that possible online over Teams, and people did enjoy. Initial half an hour used to be a real trouble, a real struggle rather, because people would call up and say, अरे वो दिख ही नहीं रहा उसको, आप लोग तो screen पे ही नहीं दिख रहे, and then we have to tell कि भाई साहब आपने login किया है. So those kind of things, hand holding completely, and then in the middle of the important discussion, somebody's laptop may go on unmute, and then घर में प्रेशर कुकर की आवाज सुनाई दे रही है, बीवी झगड़ा कर रही है, उसकी आवाज सुनाई दे रही है. So all those challenges, but ultimately it was a great success. Not just that, even our the semi-skilled people, we have a category of an element of our population, which is around 10 odd percent, which are the peons. Okay, now peons, most of them are very semi-literated or not literate also. They have never used computers or laptops. Of course, these days people have started using smartphones. So for them, there were certain mandatory trainings of 7 days, which we are supposed to give them as per the government directives. How do we do that? A lot of unions, opposed. इनको online तो आप पढ़ा ही नहीं सकते हो, आप इनको अपने training center में बुलाकर पढ़ाओ. We said we cannot do that, because more than anything at this moment, life is important. Security of life is important. So we got them all to onboard, and I'm so happy to share that there was a batch of almost 150 people, peons, who got onboarded onto the online sessions for 7 days. And, it was done so well. Towards the end, they said, madam, humne training to सीखा, but we also got our fears out कि हम laptop कैसे use करेंगे या online चीजों को कैसे करेंगे. So it was a good success. Of course, I'll tell you some of the challenges and the pitfalls also that we had, So I always say that in a physical classroom, and I'm sure even here, since you, most of you all are from the college or the institute, attendance is a word that always worry. Attendance worries the students. मेरी attendance पूरी होनी चाहिए, but more than the student, attendance also worries the coordinator or the professors. And same is the case with us. So in a physical classroom, we would always worry that जितने लोगों को nominate किया है HR ने, कम से कम उतने तो आने चाहिए. Otherwise, our training infrastructure cost justify नहीं हो पाता. Right? So attendance used to be a worry or concern in the physical classroom. But in an online or a blended learning sort of a thing, not just the attendance, but attention is also the buzzword. Where you have people logged in, you don't know whether they're actually concentrating on what you're saying, whether they're actually engaged, or whether they have just logged in and kept their mobile phones or tablets or laptops aside, and वो अपना branch में है या office में है तो customer से बात कर रहे हैं, या घर में है तो बीवी से झगड़ा कर रहे हैं. Right? So that used to be a big challenge. Then every time, we'll often there was a point, friends, on a lighter note, let me tell you, we faculties used to even have the रात को सपने में भी, dreams में भी we used to have things like, okay, am I audible? Okay, am I visible? Are you there? So it used to be a very interesting one. This challenge even continues today. Okay, but then what is the panacea? What is the solution? The point is, in today's environment where you have pitfalls or challenges where the attention span is shrinking, from hours to minutes, and I'm afraid now it will just be on to seconds. And there is so much of distraction of social media. There's so much of distraction of WhatsApp, and so many other things. How do you actually get your participants glued to that screen of yours? How do you ensure that they're listening to actually what you're saying? Because sometimes half knowledge is more dangerous than no knowledge, right? So imagine if my faculty is actually teaching to process a housing loan, और उसमें से आधी चीजें उस person ने सुनी ही नहीं, you can imagine what will be the plight of the loan or the customer, right? So here the only panacea is how engaging can your training be? How engaging can your session be that instead of having that push factor, you have the pull factor. Automatically, people look forward to be glued to the screen and not miss it out. So, जैसे हम हिंदी में कहते हैं साम दाम दंड भेद. So you have to actually try all those tactics of, motivating, sometimes even making them alert, sometimes giving them surprise quizzes, tests, etc. Sometimes calling out their names, and definitely sometimes being a little forceful that nothing doing, I want your cameras to be on. See, it's not a question of a debate here whether digital learning should be there or not be there. That option is no longer available now. The fact of the matter is that digital, or I would call it phygital, that is physical plus digital, is the new normal. You like it or you don't, you have to accept it.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So with this, I
Yes.
think I'll leave my thoughts here. Anuja,
Thanks a
over
lot,
to you.
Nikita. But clearly, your can-do attitude has reflected down in the team. And I think we bring a very valid point that the content is the king over here, right? So it's got to be engaging for us. It's a two-way street in terms of the responsibilities, both from the learning team as well as the team that is consuming the content. So thanks for your thoughts on that, Nikita. I'm coming back to Chintan. Chintan, you're in the startup world, right? I think what we're seeing around us is that edutech is now a legit word along with the fintechs, right? And we've seen the successes with Byju's, the Simply Learns of the world. What are your thoughts on the closer partnership with the edutechs and with the academic thing, right? Because that's a great blend of tech as well as the education. So what are your thoughts, and what should be the things that we should look at, in this partnership?
Sure. So if we look at the phase of pandemic during 2020 and 2021, edutech remained one of the top 5 sectors where investors pumped in money. So it was fintech, manufacturing, SaaS, D2C, and edutech. So we are one of the investable set of people. And with rise of new technologies, there is a huge demand for upskilling and reskilling. This requirement needs to be addressed by bridging the gap between industry and academia. And our government is also encouraging. Recently, they have opened a professor of practice opportunity wherein industry leader can join an academic organization, and then both of them can work together. So basically, the idea is to co-locate industry representatives within the academic organization, as well as get academicians to work with the new age startups and other assignments. So this is how we all can work together. One of the, I would say that one of the research reports said that around 60% of the kids who are in kindergarten right now would be working in a job which is yet to be invented. Around 47% of the American jobs are on verge of collapse because of automation. Any new technology you learn today, any new knowledge you learn today will last only for next 1000 days. So this is the progress, this is the speed at which things around us are advancing. Earlier, we were acquiring some knowledge and we used to practice it years together. Now, it will not happen. Any new knowledge you acquire would stay with you, would stay relevant in the industry, in the domain for 3 years' time. Then the next wave of technology, the next wave of advancement would take over. And that is how learning remains a continuous practice. Around 55% of the workforce in India needs to be upskilled and reskilled. So this is the challenge we have at our doorstep, and we all can join hands and overcome this challenge.
Yeah, thanks. Extremely well said. I think all of us in the room should be paranoid now, thinking that we need to learn our next skill already, right? Else we are somebody's lunch. I think continuing with the blended model, the small section that we have now is that while all of us are here present physically, we have a section, the virtual section, where we have Professor Ethan Mollick from, I forget the institute, Wharton Interactive. He sent us an excellent video, which I wanted them to play. And he actually touches on the way to make learning interesting, right? And he talks about gamification. So I just thought if you can play that for 5 minutes and then we take the Q&A after that.
Hello, it's nice to meet you all virtually. I am Ethan Mollick, professor here at Wharton, co-founder of Wharton Interactive, and I'm extremely passionate about how we can transform teaching, especially management education, using games and simulations. And before I get into the details on this, just a little about me. I am a professor of entrepreneurship innovation here at Wharton. I was an entrepreneur before all of this. I trained at MIT and at Harvard, including at the MIT Media Lab. I now teach at Wharton. I've written books and stuff on the topic. I've built dozens of games. You can see some of them here to do interactive teaching and learning. And I'm really moved by the potential of games and interactivity to teach in ways that other things can't. And games are a deeply motivating way to teach. So I will ask anyone in the room here, does anyone recognize this game here? So I'll give everyone a second to guess. If you haven't, it's possible that your children have. So this is Fortnite, one of the most popular games in the world. And here's my question for you. In April 2020, at the height of the pandemic shut-ins around the world, how many people hours were spent playing Fortnite? So how many total hours were spent in just the month of April 2020 playing Fortnite? I'll give you a second to try and answer. Are you ready? The correct answer is the equivalent of 3.2 billion person hours. 3.2 billion person hours, that's equivalent to building an Empire State Building every 5 hours or a Panama Canal every day. And all of this just went into one game. Games are incredibly motivating. The people love to play them. They're deeply motivating and exciting to do. They also have some interesting advantages for us because games can actually teach. What you see here is a chart from a meta-analysis of how games can do instruction and teaching and how that compares to other forms of instruction. So on the left, you could see teaching leadership through lectures is sadly not very effective. And as a professor, that's always a little sad to see. Workshops are more effective, team reviews more effective still, and the most effective is simulations right here. So that's the most effective way to teach. Simulations are really amazing because they can close the theory practice gap. So we teach people how to do things in theory, but then we have trouble asking them to do things in practice. And that can actually happen even in situations where we do have good practice. So I teach entrepreneurship. People have raised billions of dollars of venture capital out of the course I and my colleagues teach at Wharton. And it works great. We teach entrepreneurship, then people try and launch startup companies out of the class. The problem is that for every good startup company that comes out of the class, there's 2 or 3 ideas that are bad, that never go anywhere, that don't evolve properly. And the students who go through that experience don't get the same kind of teaching experience as the people who get to practice this in detail. So we can close the theory practice gap. Another thing we can do is incorporate pedagogy. So in the US, there's a sad gap, which is that many of us professors who teach all the time have never been to a formal teaching class. And there's been massive advances in the science of teaching and pedagogy over the last decade or two. And we know a lot of things about how to teach more effectively by interleaving topics so that you don't just teach one thing at a time, but you integrate things you teach together, by giving appropriate feedback at the right time, by scaffolding information you'll receive so you learn a little bit every time. And these are things that we don't do in classrooms and traditional syllabi don't do, but that we can do in simulations and in games. We also have the ability to do dynamic adaptation. So we have people of many different levels in our classes. In my simulations, we have people going from the high school to college to graduate to postgraduate education to executives all over the world. They all have to be able to play the simulation. Those are things that we can do. A game can adjust the difficulty level. And it also removes classroom management because it's a self-running game. You don't need to have highly trained teachers in every class if the game handles all the teaching opportunity. The problem is that building games to teach has been very hard. The one designer called this chocolate-covered broccoli. It's the idea that games like that, learning like broccoli, the vegetable, is not that pleasant, but games are something fun like chocolate that we can add. But just adding chocolate to broccoli, adding games to learning isn't enough to transform the educational experience. So that's where we come in with Wharton Interactive. The effort I've been building is trying to fix this and a whole bunch of other concerns. So what are other concerns about teaching with games or simulations? Appropriate fidelity. What does that mean? Well, if people are taught something in a game or simulation, then you want to make sure that that lesson is realistic in the right way, has the right level of fidelity. An example of where this went wrong was a American Army military training game that involved a shooting gallery. So people would go into this and test and learn how to use their weapons. And because it was very expensive to spend time in the simulator, what the Army did was remove the need to reload in the game. So you didn't have to reload your weapon in the game. And this was made sense. It wasn't like people would forget to reload their weapon in real life. But when soldiers ended up going into the field to try to put into practice what they learned in the game, they had unconsciously picked up the timing of the game.
So I hope you enjoyed that. I think there's a lot of wisdom out there, right, in terms of how gamification helps. I think what I understand from this part here is it's more on the lines of understanding your audience, right? If the audience has a content that you can gamify and keep them more engaged, I think it's more about getting that in place. I think with that we can open for questions to the audience, and happy to answer any questions or any thoughts that you would like to share, your observations. Sure.
Check one.
Yeah, so I can.
Hold on.
We just have the mic over to you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Milind Vinod from Sihagar Institute. You may call it as a thought, you may call it as a passing remark, you may call it as a question. This debate has been there since 1896, when the first celluloid film was made, Kiss, by the French filmmaker. Will the opera stop? Will the live music concert stop? Will the play stop? So, drawing a parallel, will our physical education ever stop? The kind of personal human touch. About 40 years ago, when internet was evolved, people said newspapers will go out of fashion. So this debate is not just in the context of education, it's a fairly wide-ranging general kind of a debate. That's what I personally feel. Any comments?
Indeed, an interesting question. So we live in an era where everyone is learning technology. As far as education is concerned, we live with humans, we live with machines, and we live with intelligence. So earlier, human resource management was the subject. Now, relations between humans and machines, humans and intelligence would be one of the advancement. Having said that, what I would say to your question is, pandemic has started or triggered a revolution of, education between humans, machines and humans. Like we are all looking at the server-driven education, right? So it's machine to human education impartment is happening. Human to human is there. And then afterwards, apart from these two, machines have started crawling the web and then learning themselves. If you look at the advancement by Deep Blue and other high tech, deep tech advancements, then machines have started learning things themselves as well. So this is how education is not limited to human. Human, it is multidimensional now. I hope I'm able to answer your question.
I think rightly said, and I'll just like to add on one or two more things. Completely stop. I personally don't see it happening, at least in our lifetimes, I think. Of course, the equation might change, the composition might change, but definitely, see, there was a lot of hue and cry about when robots coming in, whether are they going to really fully replace the human beings doing the jobs. But that's not the case right now, right? So equations might change, the way things are delivered might change, but it cannot be a complete, either digital or human, as I previously also said.
Yeah, I think to answer your question, I think everything will coexist, right? It's only the percentage that is going to change depending on the format of the audience. So I think it's become finally, it was content is king, and I think the consumer is king as well. I think it's that time, right? We can choose what we want to do in terms of our learning. So we are more in control of our learning now than we were ever before. So I think that's where we all kind of are on the same page. Hope you agree.
Meaning, without sounding to be snobbish or arrogant, is it going to be a sort of a class divide? That's what I see, that the technology will be for the masses and physical will be for the classes.
So I'll just take this up, right? I think learning is democratized now, truly. It is beyond any barriers because now we've made things work even on a feature phone, right? So I don't have to have a fancy iPhone to get access to an education. There are enough formats available. So I think it's going to be democratized. In fact, the barriers are broken more so now, right? So,
Yeah, so I would say that you don't need an invitation to learn. So now everyone is going to learn. And many a times it has been said that robots are rising and machines are rising and our jobs are at stake. But I have a viewpoint which is the other way around. People will need to work any high tech, low tech, whatever tech you call it. They will need people to work in finance. They will need people to work in marketing. They will need people to do the actual sale. They will need an admin manager. They will need all the workforce. Provided if you are working in a blockchain company, you need to learn how the business operates and what is blockchain. That's about it. You can work in a drone company, provided you know what the drone looks like. So this is how the world is advancing. Earlier, employees were not so engaged and attached with the business. Now that attachment and that bond and collaboration is becoming stronger.
Hi, my name is Ajay Venkatesh. So this is a bit different question here. While we are all overwhelmed with technology and we have a lot of students also sitting here, I see one of the important parameters that as industry, as academicians, we should also think of is with all the overwhelming technology that we have, there's also an increase in, or rather lessening in the overall mental well-being of our people. There's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of depression, and a lot of loss of connection because of, ma'am, what you said in terms of getting people on the screen, for example. I don't want to be on the screen. So I'm actually looking at the element of psychological safety. Are we helping our people be safe? At the same time, not telling them that this screen is important, but you are important. And how do we build that whole A, connection, and B, the whole aspect of mental and emotional well-being of our people. So question to everyone here, in fact, not only you, everyone sitting here as academicians, as teachers, are we teaching our young generation to also maintain that, don't get so overwhelmed with technology that everything is work, and get involved with it, but at the same time know how to reflect, reset, and recharge. So just a question on that, and how do we ponder on it? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting observation. I'll talk on the mental health part over here, So I think it exists even before the tech, before we are overwhelmed with technology, right? tech has always been there. I think it's about us switching off, right? What we've not learned is to switch off. You know, you can shut off your laptop. You can say no to that meeting at 9:30 in the night, right? I think that's what I want everyone over here to understand, the power of no. Somewhere I think that is weakening over here. Then we are compromising, right? We are pushing out on the family time, etc. I think that's the important piece for us over here. The mental health and all of that, all of this comes from the fact that we're just giving away to the external circumstances and getting driven by that particular part over here. Nikita, anything?
Yes, so it's a brilliant thought. In fact, a brilliant question also. Thank you for bringing that up. I think it all boils down to discipline and self-discipline, as Anuja also rightly said, and an amount of assertion. Why just mental health? Even the physical health gets compromised if you're fully glued to that laptop of yours. You know, even this small children, if you see. The primary school children also, you tell them you go down to play in the mud, they will say, no mama, I'm fine with my iPad, right? So this definitely is one of the pitfall. But again, what is the environment that you are giving to the child? What is the discipline that you as an individual are following is really a matter that needs a lot of conscious introspection. And I think organizations are also realizing this. There was time when, the meetings and all started happening online. We used to actually juggle between multiple meetings at the same time. And then there was a time when you put your foot down and said, no, enough. I mean, unnecessarily so much. So I think it's all how you communicate, how you self-discipline, and how introspect in the first place.
So my answer would be, how do we convert the up scroll to an engagement? That is something that we all need to do. We can build initiatives around engagement. We can engage students. We can ask them to do some research and present. We can give them some problem to solve. And that is where, I mean, rather than being into a lab, let them be in a maker's lab. Let them make some MVP. Let them play with the technology. Let them hold screwdrivers, make something. And this is where we can actually make them doing than just viewing, watching, and then scrolling. So that would be my answer to this.
Hi, do we have time for a question?
Yes, you're the lucky last.
Okay, thank you. Kiran Yadav here. I have a very simple question. Considering the fact that everything is now becoming inevitable, what are the 5 technologies you think are on the top notch that all management institutes cannot avoid taking up and learning starting today? Some pointers.
Yeah, so I think I can start off with the tools first, right? The tools which you need for engagement. So definitely, and I think we've reached a stage where we have to be agnostic to being favoritizing one particular tool. For example, your Microsoft Teams, your Zooms, the Google Hangouts, right? You'll be familiar with all of them, because the whole point is about switching from one to the other. You know, how we would do from a car, right? It wouldn't matter to us whether it's a stick shift or it's automatic, right? I think that's very important, to learn the tools of the trade for communication. I think that's the first part that I would think of. Anything from your side, Chintan?
Yeah, so I'll say A, B, C, D, E. So you said I have got entire alphabet. You asked 5, so I'm mentioning 5. A for artificial intelligence, B for blockchain, C for cybersecurity, D for data science, and E for engagement.
That was brilliant.
I think you've got it all sorted out. Thank you so much.
Nikita, anything from your
So I just use one word. While we have so many options available, as far as possible, let's integrate as much possible and let's simplify.
Super.
Anuja, my request to you, I don't think students have asked the question. There are many students sitting there. Even though if it may take 5-10 minutes or 5 minutes at least,
Absolutely.
allow them to ask the questions because it is their future. And one more request. I know because of paucity of time, we didn't show the full video.
Right.
But the Wharton interactive video is about 16 minutes. Maybe during the break, we can keep the video on, and whoever wish to see the video, let them go through it. Because we are cutting short because of the paucity of time. That's all. But let the students kind of, ask the questions.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Ganesh Darvi from GNIMS Institute of Management. My question is to all the panelists. It is tendency of faculties to give a lot of work to students in blending classes. So what faculties can do to evaluate or ensure that they are giving a right quality and quantity of work to the students?
You're complaining of too much homework here. I hope your professors are there in the room to take care of that. But hey, that's the story of student life, right? That's the only job that we do study. But I don't want to sound very too much of a bhashan here. But I think there's one part, and you actually bring a relevant point, right? See, there's a lot of prep you can do before a class, right? And that prep can be done at your pace. So if you know this is a topic that's going to be discussed, right, which your teachers can let you know. If you come with that prep work, the time that you use in the classroom can actually be used more for discussions and, bringing out the highlights of what were your challenges or what were your learnings, right? More than the regular stuff which you anyway can figure out from the YouTube or from any of the content. But I think what's important is that we are more towards analytical thinking now. If you see the study behavior, right, the SSCs, ICSEs are all on the way out. It's replacing more by creative thinking, analytical thinking. So I think the point over here is that rather than putting all these steady homeworks that you churn in and day out, some of it, also mindlessly, right? Because this stuff has become so boring in some ways. I think you all should take the driver's seat to request for maybe papers and articles that you all can contribute to, which goes out there in the World Wide Web for you, for everybody else to understand what your point of view is, right? So I think you can be in a position to ask for the assignments that you all want, right? Because we are in that position right now. So that would be my take, fully supportive on that. I'm sure we have Mr. Salunke here as well. So that's what, 50% of support already there for you in the room over here. So we're with you, buddy. So don't think we're not on your side. Any other questions?
Good morning, ma'am. My name is Prathamesh Marathe from GNIMS Business School. My question is that Byju's has started offline classes. So what's your take on that? That we are promoting online education, but Byju's has started offline because of their downtrend in the online department. So what's your take?
So online education has enabled us to have a borderless class. You have access to faculties, as Anuja mentioned, David Malan, you can learn CS50. So as any other, most of the universities have gone online. This is in benefit of the student. And then this is how the education is emerging, wherein a person is able to learn from comfort of his home and by watching videos of the person he likes. That everyone has got a different flair of explaining topics. Like my younger son watches certain videos from a faculty from Hyderabad for his physics, and that guy just uploads. He has got a YouTube channel and he just uploads, and this guy studying in 8th standard watches a video and then learns, and then because there's some connect around it. So this is where a lot of knowledge is available. And as far as we are moving towards, you will have to acquire new skills, which are soft skills, which are beyond your curriculum as well. So online education would remain as is and then grow from now on. This is my take.
Yeah. And I think, see, there's another startup that I want to talk about, is QMath, right? They actually have fabulous blended model. They're doing online, but they're also coming up with kits, right? Where they've trained the teachers to be in an offline mode to actually teach how fraction looks like. And they have these foam cutouts, etc. Right? So I think it's a blended model. The whole attitude is what we have to kind of pivot here. It's do-it-yourself attitude, right? And I think YouTube kind of led the way in it. You can see something and recreate that same thing at your home. And I think as students, for you, it should be, you shouldn't really worry about the format, is my opinion, right? You should be more worried about this content. Is it of interest to me? Is there a better content available? If yes, just jump onto that and just start learning. I think it's all about that. We've got senior execs, right, like Sundar Pichai, and all. They really invest time in learning new skills. So I think the best part about being a student right now is while you're doing your existing course, a bunch of other life skills you can learn about.
So I would like to add here, we all must thank God for, having us at the right place at the right time. The reason being, we live in a society wherein we get cheapest internet in the world. We live in a society which produces 7 million new graduates every year. We live in a society which exports more softwares than the largest oil exporter country. We live in a society which consumes 800 MB of data on an average every day. We live in a society which has got second largest mobile app user base. So if you look at these economies, we are third largest startup ecosystem after US and China. As far as number of share of unicorns is concerned, we are number one. 10% of unicorns come from India. So we all are having the right set of environment. Then what stops us from learning and marching ahead? So my question is back to you now. If you look at, I work with almost 50 plus countries. I interact with the students, the entrepreneurs there. They have got unbelievable challenges. Still, they are working very hard. I mean, look at us. When was it that we heard about power load shedding? Entire South Africa is having countrywide load shedding, minimum 4 hours throughout the country. So please make sure that you engage the right opportunity around and do not engage into those Instagrams and kind of things unnecessarily. Thank you so much. Next question, please. I wanted to ask something. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. My name is Bhumi Kamdar from GNVS Institute of Management. And my question is, what effect should have a progressive implementation of blended learning models on the quality assurance of universities and different agencies?
Quality assurance. Okay, so I'll tell you. So as and when you have a hybrid model, blended learning, then there is a uniformity in quality, because the entire digital delivery maintains the customer experience, the user experience as uniform as possible, right? So if, let's say, going back to David Malan's example, see if he is delivering CS50, the quality of education being delivered in Africa is as good as being delivered in Canada or as good as being delivered in Australia, right? So this is where the blending would benefit all the students. In fact, when you blend digital, you can replay again and again and watch the video from 27th minute onwards as well. Wherein in other non-blended learning, it may not be possible, right? Our fathers, grandfathers used to take running notes, and then this is how they used to learn, right? For us, there are multiple options available. So this is how blending is impacting positively. And as far as the QA or quality assurance is concerned, this is how it is benefiting to the customer, to the learner, to the teacher, because once the session is recorded, it can be played n number of times, irrespective of the location. So it is benefiting all stakeholders, be it learner, be it teacher, be it the management, the facilitator, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, good morning. So my name is Tanzil Ansari and I am from GNVS Institute of Management. My question is, can we see blended learning model penetrating into metaverse, and how do you think it will evolve in the metaverse?
So,
Can I call Mark on the phone?
okay, so as far as metaverse is concerned, India is having concerts in metaverse. We are having weddings in metaverse. We are having movies in metaverse. We are having bank in metaverse. We are having shopping complexes in metaverse. So with rise of metaverse, the digital learning would multiply, and that is where I could see that I could clearly see that next 1,000 days is something wherein digital literacy would be the keyword all of us would be discussing. A digitally illiterate person may find it difficult to engage, survive. Right? Digitally literate person is a person who knows how to operate PTM as well. So digitally literate person does not mean that he should be AWS certified. All right. But the way world is moving, you need to learn. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think that really answers the question. Maybe we can wrap up the session now. We've been fair enough with the students as well. So I think we can call it a day for this panel discussion. Thanks so much. Lovely having both of you, and you all were a great audience. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. We will now be taking a break for next 15 minutes. Okay. I request Dr. Ajit Singh, Sir, President AIMS, to please come up and felicitate our panelists. Request Sir to please felicitate Mr. Chintan also. I request Sir to please felicitate Ms. Nikita. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. We would now like to break for 10 minutes for a networking break. Thank you, everyone.
Simulation design to make sure that doesn't happen. Debriefing is a critical part of any simulation, but it takes training. So how do you debrief people and give them that instruction after the fact when the game is done playing? And then games can become dated very quickly. And then any team-based simulation, what happens in the team can outweigh the actual simulation. So this happens a lot in group projects that I'm sure you've all experienced as teachers, which is if a group of people are doing a project, there's all sorts of dynamics among that group. Those dynamics can cause all sorts of complexity and difficulty that make it really hard for the team to focus on the lesson because they're focusing on all their interpersonal relationships. So we've tried to solve all this. That's where Wharton Interactive comes in. You're actually seeing one of our games here on the screen, which I'll tell you about. We have been working for the last 5 years to try and solve all of these problems of simulations to try and blaze a trail here. Now we're an academic institution, so we're building games. I just want to tell you about what we're learning from the kind of games we're building, but I want to show you some of what we're building. Well, our goal is to actually radically transform education. I am very inspired by a series of randomized controlled trials that have happened recently, one in Uganda, another in Italy, a third in Peru, one in Tonga, that have all shown that small amounts of high quality business education transform people's lives. So in the Uganda example, a 3-week entrepreneurship course, which is something we actually now offer through a game, given to a random selection of high school students, resulted in those high school students 3 years later being 8 or 9% more likely to become entrepreneurs, having 18% higher income, 20% more likely to hire somebody. I mean, huge effects on the economy and personal life. So we need to think about how do we get that kind of management education out from places like Wharton or the schools that you teach at out into the world so anyone can do these things. And that's our goal here. In fact, we have these 3 goals, right? Transform education through pedagogy, which is what I've been describing before. How do we actually teach in a better, different way? Democratizing education, making it available to everybody, and then finally advancing the state of the art in research, which is something we'll talk about a little bit later. So how do we do this? our main goal is that we use something called alternate reality courses, or ARCs. Alternate reality courses are the attempt to build a simulated experience that we can build lots of them relatively cheaply, and they let students live through a game as if it was real life. We copy all the elements of real life, all the characters, all the interaction. Most simulations up there that are trying to teach are really system dynamic models. They're numbers, they're an Excel spreadsheet. You say, I would like to increase our sales by 2% next year, and you enter 2%, and then the model calculates what happens when you increase that number by 2%. That's not how real life works. The truth is, if you want to increase, and you're CEO and you want to increase the spending on R&D by 2%, the head of sales is going to email you and say, why are you spending money on R&D? You should spend it on sales. And the head of R&D will email you saying 2% isn't enough. We want people to be able to deal with those issues, not just abstract out the problems of management decisions. So ARC is designed to teach with 3 kinds of objectives in mind. So every ARC game, and well, to walk you through a few of them, have learning objectives, which are skills we want learners to use in the future, practice objectives, which are experiences that learners will encounter so that when they have them in the real world, they've already known what to do. So basically a flight simulator for management, and thinking objectives, which are mental techniques that they can use outside the context of the course in order to think in different ways and to be more innovative and to be more successful. So ARCs are built around a pedagogical concept we call the learning loop. And I want to illustrate how that works with one of our games. So one of our games, you have to run a high growth company in real time. And by real time, I really mean that. Over the course of 3 weeks in the simulation, people run a real, a fake company with all the details associated with it, and have to make lots of decisions. They experience a full MBA course over the course of the game. Every decision they make, they get instructions from me and other experts on how to do it. And then they practice those lessons and receive feedback on their performance as they go. So the entrepreneurship strategy course is our 3-week course where we handle all of this in detail. And you basically run a successful startup company in real time over the course of the simulation. So where do we put people in the game? Well, we made up a fake technology we call the cross-morphic sensor. And students are asked to take over a organization that a startup that has developed this idea. So they already made this idea work. The cross-morphic sensor can detect the calorie content of food. And in order to succeed, they need to figure out how to raise money, how to get this concept built and put to market. And that's what they do in the simulation. So we actually embedded this fake technology. We hired engineers to make it plausible. We filled the internet with fake information about this technology. In fact, if you search for the names of the characters in the game, they all have LinkedIn pages, they all have details about them. One of them we wrote fake academic articles for that are complete nonsense, but have been cited 32 times, which makes me nervous about the state of online academia. But we have put all this information so students could do research in the real world, just as if they were doing in the game. And everything they do in the simulation starts with a lesson. So here you can see me giving a lesson, but we also have other experts who all give lessons. This is a famous venture capitalist. We have other folks. So anything you do in the game, there's always a video or instructional lesson, a 2 or 3 minute lesson that teaches you what you need to do. And we've brought in billionaire founders from all over the world, including a number of Indian founders who have all been very successful and talk about their success and help you put that into practice. Then you actually have to deal with the issues in the actual simulation. So in this case, you can see you actually have an email. What do I do with this email? How do I respond to it? We literally built a fake Gmail, a fake Slack, a fake Zoom. So you're actually interacting with these characters and taking the lessons you've learned in the videos and putting them into practice and trying to make decisions in the world of the game. And so you're making all kinds of decisions about what you want to do with your product, how you want to change it, in what kind of ways. And we've even built in interactive video lessons. So you actually speak with people. So you actually interview customers in real life. So you can see here's a customer, we've hired actors to do this. So you have to deal with all of these issues of real interaction with real characters as you go. So you're not just learning, you're applying that learning in a series of interactions. And then it culminates in a pitch where you finally pitch your product to a number of investors, and every choice you made in the game ends up mattering in terms of what those investors do. And then everything you do, you get scores and feedback on. So literally every choice gets feedback, scores, adaptive information. There's scoreboards and gamification that keeps people engaged. And most importantly, you get very detailed feedback on every choice you make in the simulation. And that really detailed feedback means that players learn what they're doing right or wrong. And we make sure that the first time you encounter a new problem, let's say the first time you have to persuade someone of something in the simulation, it's hard to get it really wrong. We offer a lot of support. The second or third time you have to persuade some of the simulation, the amount of scaffolding and protection we provide disappears, and eventually the students are on their own and have to learn, apply the lessons as they go. The results have been pretty amazing so far. We had a 99% completion rate for students doing this in classrooms. This has now been used on 7 continents with tens of thousands of learners. 98% of people we survey say they learned something they couldn't learn in class through the simulation. And I showed you one of our sims, which is the entrepreneurship game. And we've, by the way, lots of happy quotes for people, right? So that, you know, I don't need to read it all out loud, but we have other business schools that have started using this in their as their simulations. So Princeton, for example, doesn't have an entrepreneurship program, so they're teaching entrepreneurship to their students using the simulation. So we're partnered with a school in Brazil, the Link School of Business, and they're using our simulations as replacements for classes. So there's a lot of opportunity here to partner and work together. This isn't our only simulation. We also have simulations designed to teach machine learning. So that was a 3-week game that we showed you, but this is a 90-minute single-player game where you literally have to code in the game. You get a Jupyter notebook, instructions how to build and run and evaluate a machine learning algorithm to make a prediction. And even people who have coded before, they get experience about what it's like to code. They actually are using real data from Evite, the large invitation company. We've got millions of lines of data, and they actually get to play with the data and learn what a machine learning expert does and how an analyst thinks through issues. So it's a great way to learn about how this kind of thing works. They get real results. We have the Saturn Peril, which is attempt to teach leadership, not just attempt, I think it's very good, to teach leadership using a science fictional setting. So you're on a doomed spaceship on a mission to the planet, to Saturn in 2087, and everything goes wrong. And as a result, you learn how to lead as you try and solve all these problems as a team. And you have to get these incredibly detailed reports that tell you what your team is good at. Is your team good at planning or unstructured problems? And it's a great icebreaker, but it's also a really great capstone for teaching strategic leadership, organizational leadership, or team leadership, and that's also one of our simulations available. And then we have a free on-demand simulation. Anyone can play it. There's an instructor guide on how to do this. If you want to do it, anybody can do this. It teaches entrepreneurship mindset. So it's a free 90-minute simulation where you actually have to decide as an investor what kinds of companies you're investing on, and how do you make those decisions? It creates a really rich classroom discussion. Again, there's classroom guides and instructions. You can do that for free if you want to. So all of these games and more are available at interactive.wharton.upenn.edu. Please explore them. You could sign up as a verified instructor and contact us. And if you're a verified instructor, you get all the teaching notes and other material. We're trying to rethink about teaching. How do we move away from cases? How do we move away from, from very detailed exercises to create incredible learning that works for everyone? And we hope that we're just the first people to start using games in this way for learning. We really believe this is going to be the future to democratizing access to education and information. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope you check out interactive.wharton.upenn.edu. And I hope you join us in the mission to transform education through simulation and games. Thank you very much. Hello, it's nice to meet you all virtually. I am Ethan Malik, professor here at Wharton, co-founder of Wharton Interactive, and I am extremely passionate about how we can transform teaching, especially management education, using games and simulations. And before I get into the details on this, just a little bit about me. I am a professor of entrepreneurship innovation here at Wharton. I was an entrepreneur before all of this. I trained at MIT and at Harvard, including at the MIT Media Lab. I now teach at Wharton. I've written books and stuff on the topic and built dozens of games. You can see some of them here to do interactive teaching and learning. And I'm really moved by the potential of games and interactivity to teach in ways that other things can't. And games are a deeply motivating way to teach. So I will ask anyone in the room here, does anyone recognize this game here? So I'll give everyone a second to guess. If you haven't, it's possible that your children have. So this is Fortnite. one of the most popular games in the world. And here's my question for you. In April 2020, at the height of the pandemic shut-ins around the world, how many people hours were spent playing Fortnite? So how many total hours were spent in just the month of April 2020 playing Fortnite? I'll give you a second to try and answer. Are you ready? The correct answer is the equivalent of 3.2 billion person hours. 3.2 billion person hours, that's equivalent to building an Empire State Building every 5 hours or a Panama Canal every day. And all of this just went into one game. Games are incredibly motivating. The people love to play them. They're deeply motivating and exciting to do. They also have some interesting advantages for us because games can actually teach. What you see here is a chart from a meta-analysis of how games can do instruction and teaching and how that compares to other forms of instruction. So on the left, you could see teaching leadership through lectures is sadly not very effective. And as a professor, that's always a little sad to see. Workshops are more effective, team reviews more effective still, and the most effective is simulations right here. So that's the most effective way to teach. Simulations are really amazing because they can close the theory practice gap. So we teach people how to do things in theory, but then we have trouble asking them to do things in practice. And that can actually happen even in situations where we do have good practice. So I teach entrepreneurship. People have raised billions of dollars of venture capital out of the course I and my colleagues teach at Wharton. And it works great. We teach entrepreneurship, then people try and launch startup companies out of the class. The problem is that for every good startup company that comes out of the class, there's 2 or 3 ideas that are bad, that never go anywhere, that don't evolve properly. And the students who go through that experience don't get the same kind of teaching experience as the people who get to practice this in detail. So we can close the theory practice gap. Another thing we can do is incorporate pedagogy. So in the US, there's a sad gap, which is that many of us professors who teach all the time have never been to a formal teaching class. And there's been massive advances in the science of teaching and pedagogy over the last decade or 2. And we know a lot of things about how to teach more effectively by interleaving topics so that you don't just teach one thing at a time, but you integrate things you teach together, by giving appropriate feedback at the right time, by scaffolding information people receive so they learn a little bit every time. And these are things that we don't do in classrooms and traditional syllabi don't do, but that we do in simulations and in games. We also have the ability to do dynamic adaptation. So we have people of many different levels in our classes. In my simulations, we have people going from the high school to college, to graduate, to postgraduate education, to executives all over the world. They all have to be able to play the simulation. Those are things that we can do. A game can adjust the difficulty level. And it also removes classroom management, because it's a self-running game. You don't need to have highly trained teachers in every class if the game handles all the teaching opportunity. The problem is that building games to teach has been very hard. The one designer called this chocolate-covered broccoli. It's the idea that games like learning like broccoli, the vegetable, is not that pleasant, but games are something fun like chocolate that we can add. But just adding chocolate to broccoli, adding games to learning isn't enough to transform the educational experience. So that's where we come in with Wharton Interactives. The effort I've been building is trying to fix this and a whole bunch of other concerns. So what are other concerns about teaching with games or simulations? Appropriate fidelity. What does that mean? Well, if people are taught something in a game or simulation, then you want to make sure that that lesson is realistic in the right way, has the right level of fidelity. An example of where this went wrong was a American Army military training game that involved a shooting gallery. So people would go into this and learn how to use their weapons. And because it was very expensive to spend time in the simulator, what the Army did was remove the need to reload in the game. So you don't have to reload your weapon in the game. And this was made sense. It wasn't like people would forget to reload their weapon in real life. But when soldiers ended up going into the field to try to put into practice what they learned in the game, they had unconsciously picked up the timing of the game and didn't leave each other time to cover each other while reloading. So you have to be really careful about fidelity level. It's something we do in our game. If you play any of our simulations, like our free Blue Sky simulation, which you'll see in a bit, which you're always welcome to use in a classroom, one of the things that we do is we have a purposefully over-the-top character that you work with who's kind of crazy. Why do we create this over-the-top character? Because having a character who's really over the top makes them feel fictional. So students don't learn from that over-the-top character. That's not a realistic part of the game. The more realistic parts of the game, we put the effort to make sure that all the data and all the material there is realistic. A second problem that happens is just mislearning. People learn the wrong things, the wrong lessons from success or failure. So you have to be really careful in game design and simulation design to make sure that doesn't happen. Debriefing is a critical part of any simulation, but it takes training. So how do you debrief people and give them that instruction after the fact when the game is done playing? And then games can become dated very quickly. And then any team-based simulation, what happens in the team can outweigh the actual simulation. So this happens a lot in group projects that I'm sure you've all experienced as teachers, which is if a group of people are doing a project, there's all sorts of dynamics among that group. Those dynamics can cause all sorts of complexity and difficulty that make it really hard for the team to focus on the lesson because they're focusing on all their interpersonal relationships. So we've tried to solve all this. That's where Wharton Interactive comes in. You're actually seeing one of our games here on screen, which I'll tell you about. We have been working for the last 5 years to try and solve all of these problems with simulations to try and blaze a trail here. Now we're an academic institution, so we're building games. I just want to tell you about what we're learning from the kind of games we're building, but I want to show you some of what we're building. Well, our goal is to actually radically transform education. I am very inspired by a series of randomized controlled trials that have happened recently, one in Uganda, another in Italy, a third in Peru, one in Tonga, that have all shown that small amounts of high quality business education transform people's lives. So in the Uganda example, a 3-week entrepreneurship course, which is something we actually now offer through a game, given to a random selection of high school students, resulted in those high school students 3 years later being 8 or 9% more likely to become entrepreneurs, having 18% higher income, 20% more likely to hire somebody. I mean, huge effects on the economy and personal life. So we need to think about how do we get that kind of management education out from places like Wharton or the schools that you teach at out into the world so anyone can do these things. And that's our goal here. In fact, we have these 3 goals, right? Transform education through pedagogy, which is what I've been describing before. How do we actually teach in a better, different way? Democratizing education, making it available to everybody, and then finally advancing the state of the art in research, which is something we'll talk about a little bit later. So how do we do this? Our main goal is that we use something called alternate reality courses, or ARCs. Alternate reality courses are the attempt to build a simulated experience that we can build lots of them relatively cheaply, and they let students live through a game as if it was real life. We copy all the elements of real life, all the characters, all the interaction. Most simulations out there that are trying to teach are really system dynamic models. They're numbers, they're an Excel spreadsheet. You say, I would like to increase our sales by 2% next year, and you enter 2%, and then the model calculates what happens when you increase that number by 2%. That's not how real life works. The truth is, if you want to increase, and you're CEO and you want to increase the spending on R&D by 2%, the head of sales is going to email you and say, why are you spending money on R&D? You should spend it on sales. And the head of R&D will email you saying 2% isn't enough. We want people to be able to deal with those issues, not just abstract out the problems of management decisions. So ARC is designed to teach with 3 kinds of objectives in mind. So every ARC game, and I'll walk you through a few of them, have learning objectives, which are skills we want learners to use in the future, practice objectives, which are experiences that learners will encounter so that when they have them in the real world, they've already known what to do. So basically a flight simulator for management, and thinking objectives, which are mental techniques that they can use outside the context of the course in order to think in different ways and to be more innovative and to be more successful. So ARCs are built around a pedagogical concept we call the learning loop. And I want to illustrate how that works with one of our games. So one of our games, you have to run a high growth company in real time. And by real time, I really mean that. Over the course of 3 weeks in the simulation, people run a real, a fake company with all the details associated with it, and have to make lots of decisions. They experience a full MBA course over the course of the game. Every decision they make, they get instructions from me and other experts on how to do it. And then they practice those lessons and receive feedback on their performance as they go. So the entrepreneurship strategy course is our 3-week course where we handle all of this in detail. And you basically run a successful startup company in real time over the course of the simulation. So where do we put people in the game? Well, we made up a fake technology we call the cross-morphic sensor. And students are asked to take over a organization that a startup that has developed this idea. So they already made this idea work. The cross-morphic sensor can detect the calorie content of food. And in order to succeed, they need to figure out how to raise money, how to get this concept built and put to market. And that's what they do in the simulation. So we actually embedded this fake technology. We hired engineers to make it plausible. We filled the internet with fake information about this technology. In fact, if you search for the names of the characters in the game, they all have LinkedIn pages, they all have details about them. One of them we wrote fake academic articles for that are complete nonsense, but have been cited 32 times, which makes me nervous about the state of online academia. But we have put all this information so the students could do research in the real world, just as if they were doing in the game. And everything they do in the simulation starts with a lesson. So here you can see me giving a lesson, but we also have other experts who all give lessons. This is a famous venture capitalist. We have other folks. So anything you do in the game, there's always a video or instructional lesson, a 2 or 3 minute lesson that teaches you what you need to do. And we've brought in billionaire founders from all over the world, including a number of Indian founders who have all been very successful and talk about their success and help you put that into practice. Then you actually have to deal with the issues in the actual simulation. So in this case, you can see you actually have an email. What do I do with this email? How do I respond to it? We literally built a fake Gmail, a fake Slack, a fake Zoom. So you're actually interacting with these characters and taking the lessons you've learned in the videos and putting them into practice and trying to make decisions in the world of the game. And so you're making all kinds of decisions about what you want to do with your product, how you want to change it, in what kind of ways. And we've even built in interactive video lessons. So you actually speak with people. So you actually interview customers in real life. So you can see here's a customer, we've hired actors to do this. So you have to deal with all of these issues of real interaction with real characters as you go. So you're not just learning, you're applying that learning in a series of interactions. And then it culminates in a pitch where you finally pitch your product to a number of investors, and every choice you made in the game ends up mattering in terms of what those investors do. And then everything you do, you get scores and feedback on. So literally every choice gets feedback, scores, adaptive information. There's scoreboards and gamification that keeps people engaged. And most importantly, you get very detailed feedback on every choice you make in the simulation. And that really detailed feedback means that players learn what they're doing right or wrong. And we make sure that the first time you encounter a new problem, let's say the first time you have to persuade someone of something in the simulation, it's hard to get it really wrong. We offer a lot of support. The second or third time you have to persuade someone in the simulation, the amount of scaffolding and protection we provide disappears, and eventually the students are on their own and have to apply the lessons as they go. The results have been pretty amazing so far. We had a 99% completion rate for students doing this in classrooms. This has now been used on 7 continents with tens of thousands of learners. 98% of people we survey say they learned something they couldn't learn in class through the simulation. And I showed you one of our sims, which is the entrepreneurship game. And we have, by the way, lots of happy quotes from people, right? So that, I don't need to read it all out loud, but we have other business schools that have started using this as their simulation. So Princeton, for example, doesn't have an entrepreneurship program, so they're teaching entrepreneurship to their students using the simulation. So we're partnered with a school in Brazil, the Link School of Business, and they're using our simulations as replacements for classes. So there's a lot of opportunity here to partner and work together. This isn't our only simulation. We also have simulations designed to teach machine learning. So that was a 3-week game that we showed you, but this is a 90-minute single-player game where you literally have to code in the game. You get a Jupyter notebook, instructions on how to build and run and evaluate a machine learning algorithm to make a prediction. And even people who have coded before, they get experience about what it's like to code. They actually are using real data from Evite, the large invitation company. We've got millions of lines of data, and they actually get to play with the data and learn what a machine learning expert does and how an analyst thinks through issues. So it's a great way to learn about how this kind of thing works. They get real results. We have the Saturn Peril, which is attempt to teach leadership, not just attempt, I think it's very good, to teach leadership using a science fictional setting. So you're on a doomed spaceship on a mission to the planet, to Saturn in 2087, and everything goes wrong. And as a result, you learn how to lead as you try and solve all these problems as a team. And you have to get these incredibly detailed reports that tell you what your team is good at. Is your team good at planning or unstructured problems? And it's a great icebreaker, but it's also a really great capstone for teaching strategic leadership, organizational leadership, or team leadership, and that's also one of our simulations that's available. And then we have a free on-demand simulation. Anyone can play it. There's an instructor guide on how to do this if you want to do it. Anybody can do this. It teaches entrepreneurship mindset. So it's a free 90-minute simulation where you actually have to decide as an investor what kinds of companies you're investing on and how do you make those decisions? It creates a really rich classroom discussion. Again, there's classroom guides and instructions. You can do that for free if you want to. So all of these games and more are available at interactive.wharton.upenn.edu. please explore them. You could sign up as a verified instructor and contact us. And if you're a verified instructor, you get all the teaching notes and other material. We're trying to rethink about teaching. How do we move away from cases? How do we move away from, from very detailed exercises to create incredible learning that works for everyone? And we hope that we're just the first people to start using games in this way for learning. We really believe this is going to be the future to democratizing access to education and information. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope you check out interactive.wharton.upenn.edu. And I hope you join us in the mission to transform education through simulation and games. Thank you very much. Hello, it's nice to meet you all virtually. I am Ethan Malik, professor here at Wharton, co-founder of Wharton Interactive, and I'm extremely passionate about how we can transform teaching, especially management education, using games and simulations. And before I get into the details on this, just a little bit about me. I am a professor of entrepreneurship innovation here at Wharton. I was an entrepreneur before all of this. I trained at MIT and at Harvard, including at the MIT Media Lab. I now teach at Wharton. I've written books and stuff on the topic. I've built dozens of games. You can see some of them here to do interactive teaching and learning. And I'm really moved by the potential of games interactivity to teach in ways that other things can't. And games are a deeply motivating way to teach. So I will ask anyone in the room here, does anyone recognize this game here? So I'll give everyone a second to guess. If you haven't, it's possible that your children have. So this is Fortnite, one of the most popular games in the world. And here's my question for you. In April 2020, at the height of the pandemic shut-ins around the world, how many people hours were spent playing Fortnite? How many total hours were spent in just the month of April 2020 playing Fortnite? I'll give you a second to try and answer. Are you ready? The correct answer is the equivalent of 3.2 billion person hours. 3.2 billion person hours, that's equivalent of building an Empire State Building every 5 hours, or
Okay. I request everyone to be please seated. I request everyone to please be seated. So we start. I request everyone to please be seated. Thank you, everyone. I request our President, Dr. Ajit Singh, sir, our Director, GNIMS, Dr. D.Y. Patil, sir, our Chief Guest, Dr. Deepak Ghaisas, and our incoming President, Dr. Nand Gopal, to please take the dais. I also request Dr. Kiran Yadav, sir, please. So, dear audience, we are now moving towards the most awaited segment of AIMS 33rd Annual Management Education Convention 2022, the awards. But before I move ahead, I would like to congratulate, and I want a big round of applause for all the participants who've taken part in various competitions and have put their hard work. Remember, winning and failure is a part of a journey. It's not the end. So there's this kahawat, wherein Radha ji asks Krishna ji, कि हर बार मेरे साथ ही ऐसा क्यों होता है? So Krishna ji says, हर बात समझाना संभव नहीं राधे, समय समझाएगा. If this door is closed, another door will be open for you. Remember, no one can close the door that God has opened for you. Once again, round of applause for all the people who've taken so much efforts to participate in this event and have come from far. Thank you all for coming here. Moving ahead with the award segment. The first category of award we have is for the prestigious Ravi J. Matthai National Fellow Award. I request Dr. Sujata Sinsorkar, Executive Board Member, AIMS, to please read the citation for the award for Dr. Anil Raut, Senior Dean and Director, Welingkar Institute of Management Development and Research, WeSchool, Bangalore. Ma'am.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. It's indeed my pleasure to read the citation of Dr. Anil Subbarao Paila. Professor Dr. Anil Subbarao Paila, a chartered accountant, is the recipient of the prestigious Chitragupta Award of ICAI, New Delhi. He is a strong proponent of management education in India and is currently the Senior Dean and Director, SP Mandali's Principal L.N. Welingkar Institute of Management Development and Research, WeSchool, Bangalore. Prior to joining WeSchool, Dr. Anil Raut worked for 13 years in industry and was the Associate Vice President at Mahindra & Mahindra Group Company. During his corporate stint, he was an exemplary performer and a go-to man for the management team. His passion towards education sector forced him to leave corporate career at peak of his career. During his college days, Dr. Raut has been an exemplary student throughout his academic career. He was topper in Shivaji University, Kolhapur in his BCom, MCom and MCM degrees. His doctoral study on design and development of management information system in selected industries earned him a PhD degree in management information systems. Dr. Raut attended the Harvard Graduate School of Education's Institute for Management and Leadership in Education. Dr. Anil received the BMA's Best Director Award for the year 2022 from Bangalore Management Association in March 2022 and Bangalore Education Society's Leadership in Management Education and Advocacy Award in 2018. Under his leadership, WeSchool Bangalore won the NHRDN Runners-Up Award at the 10th National NHRD's HR Showcase 2021 for the joint collaboration with Infosys and its impactful Junior Management Leadership Program. Also, WeSchool Bangalore received the AICTE CII survey of Industry Linked Institutions 2016, Hindustan Unilever Limited Award for Best Industry Linked Emerging Management Institute. Dr. Anil was unanimously elected as National President of the Association of Indian Management Schools for 2017-18. He was invited as Executive Board member of the Association of Management Development Institutions in South Asia in 2017-18. He is actively involved in various committees of NHRD, BMA, FKCCI, CII, and AIMS. He is an active Rotarian and drives various community projects. Currently, he is District Director for Vocational Services, Rotary International District 3190. He is also on the boards of governors for Surana Group of Institutions, BMS College of Commerce and Management, Jyoti Nivas College, and Ramaiah Institute of Management Sciences. In the past 4 years, WeSchool has forayed into executive education and is rated next best institute after IIMB for executive education, securing 100+ clients, which includes Zydus Cadila, Apotex, Siemens Technologies, Mercedes-Benz, Adani Group, Himalaya Drugs, Microlabs, Robert Bosch, Biocon, SBI, the Police Department, amongst others. In WeSchool Bangalore, Dr. Anil Raut is known for setting up various centers of excellence and best practices in management education. These include Center of Excellence for Case Development, Center of Excellence in Consulting Projects, Center for Research, Center of Excellence for Executive Education. Dr. Rao's best practice, WeCafe, earned WeSchool Bangalore several accolades in MDPs, consulting, case writing, and visibility amongst corporate circles. The Association of Indian Management Schools takes immense pride in conferring its prestigious Ravi J. Matthai National Fellow Award on Professor Dr. Anil Subbarao Paila for his exemplary contribution to the field of management education, given on this 27th day of August 2022 at the 33rd AIMS Annual Management Education Convention 2022. Thank you.
I request Dr. Anil sir to please come on the stage, and I now request our President Dr. Ajit Singh sir to please felicitate Dr. Anil Rao sir. I request everyone to please stand up and give a big round of applause. It has to be more loud. I know I have a very vibrant audience. I want a beautiful culmination of the ceremony. Keep going. You have sumptuous lunch ahead. Keep going. I request Anil sir. Sir, please give the acceptance speech.
Morning, everyone. Dignitaries on the dais, President of Association of Indian Management Schools, Dr. Ajit Singh, past presidents of AIMS, Dr. D.Y. Patil, President of AIMS elect, Dr. Nandagopal, Dr. Kiran Yadav, Chief Guest, Mr. Deepak Ghaisas, my beloved Group Director, Dr. Uday Salunke, Executive Board of AIMS, and my dear participants of 33rd AIMS National Annual Convention. I deem it an honor to receive this prestigious Ravi J. Matthai Award from Association of Indian Management Schools, along with other awardees who received day before yesterday, Mr. Anisha, and of course, Mr. Deepak Ghaisas, two veterans from corporate world. I'm also glad and happy that I'm receiving this prestigious award in presence of my parents, Dr. P.S. Rao, and my mother, Damayanti Devi, and my family. This fellow award is a prestigious award for achieving high level of distinction in management education, which I shall cherish and hereby resolve to contribute to the most to the society going forward. I strongly believe in change and have always been in the forefront in building two institutions, Arvind Mills, which had Anagram Finance Limited, and Anand Mahindra's brainchild company, Mahindra First Choice, and worked in industry for almost 12 and a half years. By choice, as the introduction happened about me and the inspiration of my father, I joined academia 15 years back as Dean of Welingkar, Bangalore. WeSchool Bangalore achieved various accolades, best practices in a short span of its establishment, and I owe my heartiest gratitude to my boss, Dr. Uday Salunke, Group Director at Welingkar, who has encouraged me and guided me constantly to do more to enhance quality in management education. Thank you, Dr. Uday. I would fail in my duties if I don't mention the support I received from my team of faculty and staff of WeSchool Bangalore, and of course, my colleagues in Mumbai. Having worked as past president of AIMS in 2017-18 and was part of CII and HRD, I made various attempts to advocate about management education and bring it to the forefront by engaging industry academia continuously. I believe that faculty is a backbone and at the core of management education and should be empowered to use their full potential. The new national education policy will bring changes at unprecedented speed, and faculty will have to bring in the harbinger of change in management education. I'd like to conclude with my favorite quote of Charles Darwin, who says, "It's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is the most adaptable one to change." I once again thank the illustrious AIMS body and the convention director, Dr. Kiran Yadav, for enabling this AIMS convention with rich content and takeaways for all participants. I accept this award. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Moving on towards the next prestigious award of Ravi J. Matthai National Fellow, I request a dynamic FIC, Finance GNIMS, Professor Kapil Bhopatkar, sir, to kindly read the citation for the same for Shri Deepak Ghaisas, our chief guest.
Good afternoon. I deem it my proud privilege to read out this citation for the prestigious Ravi Matthai National Fellow Award. Mr. Deepak Ghaisas, as a chairman of the Gencoval Group, leads strategy development, visioning, and conceptualization of breakthrough business models for Gencoval in cutting-edge biotech area of healthcare industry. At Gencoval, Mr. Ghaisas is working on bringing new inventions and innovations in healthcare side of the area to this part of the world and working on curative, predictive diagnostics and delivery side of the healthcare. Under Gencoval, he leads the company Steamed Biotech Private Limited, where the company is involved in founding ecosystem for mesenchymal stem cells in India, Middle East, and Far East countries derived out of teeth. Deepak also is a renowned angel investor and a venture capitalist. He is also a part of the promoter team to start SEBI-approved PE funds under the name Xfinity. Prior to Gencoval, Mr. Deepak was Vice Chairman iFlex India. He was one of the founding members of the company in 1993, which turned out to be the most successful software product company from India with a valuation of over $4 billion US. It was his strategic, financial, and operational acumen that drove the company into a true Indian multinational. He traveled extensively in over 70 countries to finalize the customer deals for the same. He is the first Indian CFO to win the prestigious CFO Asia Award in 2001. Deepak is a qualified chartered accountant, cost accountant, and company secretary and alumni of the London Business School. Also a thought leader in building future scenarios and in the area of disruptive innovation. He is one of the sought after speakers on various forums. Last 25 years, Mr. Deepak is teaching at various management institutes in India and abroad as a visiting faculty. He is also on the advisory boards of various management institutes. He had been the member of the board of governors of IIT Kanpur and currently is the chairperson of board of governors of Indian Institute of Information Technology and Design Jabalpur and IIIT Gwalior. He has also been a NASCOM EC member for many years and on CII and RBI committees of various subjects. He also has a passion to get to the grassroots level, people in rural India, and understand their problems and views and advise various NGOs in their work. Also on the boards of NGO companies, he runs his own public charitable trust. Deepak is also a die-hard music lover and continues to play the tabla whenever he finds the time. His recently developed skills in landscape paintings is being praised by many. Ladies and gentlemen, the Association of Indian Management Schools takes immense pride in conferring its prestigious Ravi Matthai National Fellow Award on Mr. Deepak Ghaisas, Chairman and Chief Mentor, Gencoval Group. Thank you.
I request our incoming President, Dr. Ramaswamy Nandagopal, and Ajit Singh, sir, to kindly felicitate, sir. A big round of applause, dear audience. I request Shri Deepak ji, Chairman and Chief Mentor, Gencoval group to please give the acceptance speech and also the valedictory address.
Good afternoon. I think we are late, so I've been given 30 minutes. I'll try to finish in 25 minutes. First of all, my sincere thanks to the AIMS. When I told my wife that I got an award from AIMS, she was wondering because she's a medical person, so for AIMS is different for her. And she was wondering why I would get an award. My heartiest congratulations to Professor Raut. And I really envy him because he's lucky to have his parents here watching this award. Unfortunately, I'm not so lucky. I think getting award is always a great thing. Accepting it is a great pleasure. And this award is more important because this is kind of a pat on the back by all management gurus which are sitting here of India. I think it will give me a lot of encouragement to move further. But generally awards are given to people like life achievement awards after they finish everything. I think for me, it will be one more booster to go ahead with what I'm doing. And I guess what I'm doing must be right thing. So I accepted the award with very humbly, with a lot of honor. And thanks again to the entire group. So this was my acceptance award. So now I need to start my valedictory speech. And I've been teaching in the last 25 years. And I started teaching because, and that also in CNIMS Management School, because I studied in CNIMS. And simply I started with complete selfish interest because I've come from vernacular school. I studied in Marathi in Paila Vidyalaya. So I wanted to develop my English skills, oratory skills. I should be able to talk in front of 10 people. And once I started doing it, I realized probably I got a knack to teach. But my belief is that not every intelligent person is a good teacher. But teaching is a great art, and I'm sure all of you have got that, and that's why you're here. And then I also realized that at the management schools, probably we don't teach, we help them to learn. Because kids are already grown up, they're calm, so you can't teach them anything, you have to help them to learn. And that's what you keep on doing all the time. I went through the program sheet that today and last 2 days what happened. And I think there are various things that you guys deliberated on. And especially the, I just got the subjects written, sort of redesign the management education, shaping the future. That's the thing. And then you have innovation, key to management success, promoting startup culture, leadership through entrepreneurship and digital blended learning. My congratulations to you guys to select these subjects in the first place. And my real passion is startups and entrepreneurship, which Dr. Salunke is also aware that in board meetings, I particularly insist, rather than giving me the placement records, give me the data on how many students became entrepreneurs from the school. And I think this data gathering is continuous process because there are many people, many students who go out and do this job for some time and then again get to the entrepreneurship. And I think all those students are real, should be a pride. Otherwise, what you're generating is more of a glorified clerks from your institutions. And that's not the purpose of management school, so I believe very strongly. While you must have discussed last 3 days on technology, on digitalization, computers, leadership. What I would talk today for the next 20 minutes is a little more different things than what probably
you did not discuss. And I thought I should share with you guys because of experience, and with growing white hair and losing hair, probably you get that sense to talk about experience. So I'm telling you from experience. But one basic principle I realized after teaching and in the corporate world, and when I now deal with a lot of entrepreneurs because of my PE fund that we operate out of Bangalore and my own investments, I think this generation, especially Y, Z, and now millennial generation, has completely changed the power game. And what I mean by power game is, for example, when I entered the aircraft and the doors are closed, the captain of the aircraft becomes the most powerful person. He tells you when to tie the belts, so he tells you when to have a tea, he tells you when to go to loo and not to go to loo. So he's a powerful guy, but the moment door gets opened, his power finishes. I can walk out. So that is what I mean by power game. Now, all this new generation who are your students, they want to assume power. When I was young, my father used to tell me, you don't understand, listen to me. When I try to go and tell my son, he says, Dad, you don't understand, let me tell you. So probably our generation did not understand anything in life. And then to teach or help learn these students is a much different task than what a decade or 2 decades ago management schools had. And that's what I mean by power game. You must understand the power game. 10 years back in Singapore, I was talking to entertainment industry, and I was telling them the power game is changing. Today, my dinner time is decided by these serials who are operated in the various channels. My wife will say, or my mother would say those days, oh, 8:30, don't disturb me. You will have dinner either at 8 o'clock or at 9:30. So power game was completely in the hands of channels. This generation does not accept it. And I'm sure at homes, you must have realized that they want to watch the movies, the plays, the episodes when they want to watch. My son's house, for example, probably doesn't have a TV. He doesn't have a channel. He doesn't want to watch the news. I mean, it's useless to watch anyway now. But he wants to watch what he wants to watch without advertisements and when he wants to watch. So they all watch on their laptops, on their screens, and maybe TV is used only for that. So if this is the power game going to be, and therefore all the channels will one day close. They don't record the channels because they monitor, they tell you when to do what. It should be on demand. People are ready to pay for that. Anyway, we also pay for that. But the power is not in our hands. So power game is changing. That's the first point. So please keep that in mind. I think we use any technology, entrepreneurship, leadership, the power game has changed completely. So in the organization, when I got 10 staff with me, youngsters, they assume power. And I have to be leader of such people who assume power, which is a different phenomenon than when we started working. The boss was the big guy. His leadership or her leadership was taken as a leader. But then to manage, like I spent 25 years in IT industry and I realized that IT industry people is a complete volatile, intelligent mass. You get 5 people together, they will have at least 7 opinions. And then to get them in sync and get the project done is a different kind of a task than working more as an autocrat. So that is going to be the first challenge, I would say, going forward in the future. Second challenge I feel, and which is never taught, so I suspect, to make a choice. The entire life, I've been making choices all the time. There are many parents who come and tell me that my son or daughter he or she is or he is and is confused. I said, how lucky you can be. Person get confused only when they have got a choice. 90% people in the world don't have a choice because they don't have an option. So there's no question of getting confused. They know where to go or what to do. So people who have got a confusion, I think they're lucky because they got a choice. Now, one of the management tasks is to make that choice. And probably none of the syllabus has that, how to make a choice. And right from morning till evening, all the time we are making choices. And I can assure you that all the successful people in this world, with whatever criteria that we apply for success, were successful because they made the right choices at the right place and the right time. And I think management students need to understand this entire philosophy of making a choice. And we as professors or teachers or gurus, we cannot teach them how to make a choice. But I think difference between a professor and a guru is professor tells you what happens, how it happens. But it does not allow the student to think himself or herself and then make a choice. I think the new education policy, as we learn now, is probably going towards that. It is allowing people or students to make choice, learn how to make a choice. And to make a choice, obviously, you have to make a judgment, because every time you observe something, you make a judgment. Now, when you make a judgment, you try to focus on it, make short list of choices or options, and then select one of them. Only time tells you whether the choice was right or wrong. Only future tells you it was right or wrong. And that's where I differentiate between education, knowledge, and wisdom. What we part with them or what we can give them is education. We can't give them knowledge. They have to take it. Knowledge is always required to be taken by people. But both knowledge and education may not give the wisdom. And wisdom, all of us get by paying the price of the age. All of us have paid the price for the age to get that wisdom. And that wisdom helps us to make choices. Now, advantage of us telling them about this, because we can add our wisdom while giving some theories of making a choice so that they can make the right choices and make decisions. Because in the corporate world, in entrepreneurship, in leadership, all the time what matters, what decisions you take. And I think that is something which we need to spend some time with the students in management schools in future, irrespective of technologies and so on. Rather, my suspicion is that when we used to do research in our college days, 80% time used to go in finding the references from the libraries, and 20% time used to spend on analytics. Today, not even 5% time is spent on getting resources. You type a word or sentence on Google and you get 10 million pages. So resources are available, references are available. Now, what need to be taught to people or students is how to select the right choice or make a choice from that information. Because selecting that is a major task, because that is what information is all about to you. And then you pass your judgment or make judgment, select choices, and then make a decision. I think that process needs to be, I won't say taught, but they should be made aware of that. And I think it's our responsibility at management school that in future, that decision-making process needs to be taught. Not theoretically, but the case studies should be made on that. If not analytics, right? If this in London Business School, what we had done, just as an example. We were given a case study, and I remember one specifically of this EasyJet. They had this £1 cinema ticket and £1, all kind of stuff, which is a different disruptive ballgame altogether. And 6 groups of us debated separately and presented our solutions or case study solutions in the auditorium. And at the end of that, we realized that one gentleman who was sitting behind was the MD or CEO of EasyJet. He spent time with us, and then he came out and said, wow, he thinks. And he was delighted to see 6 different more solutions given to him. So his choices were more, so his decision-making process was better. I think those kind of models about what nowadays they call as the flipped classrooms, where the role playing is played more, and use these cameras very frequently on that, because people watching their own performance tells you a lot rather than others observing and giving feedback. Okay, that is absolutely important. The business models are changing. I think we must tell them or talk to them about how to respond to disruptions. I don't think we talk about it. The disruptions is something which is going to happen constantly now. The latest disruption that we went through, unfortunately, is COVID. And I'm glad to tell you that a couple of boards, at least, or 3 or 4 boards where I am, we found a different way of response. That suddenly the workers were not available when the factory started, and we realized the entire workflow can be managed differently with less number of workers. We suddenly realized that travel was not so important. We suddenly realized that meetings personally is not so important. These can be achieved with a lesser cost. So that is how we respond to a disruption. In iFlex, we had an office in Seeds, and next to my Seeds office was a big company called Esquire. I don't know how many of you remember. I'm sure people behind won't remember this, but at least in front would remember. Esquire used to be a monopoly company on video cassettes of all these Bollywood films. I was desperately needing the office space, and I could not probably go and talk to Esquire because they were a monopoly company minting money. They did not realize some disruption was entering. And suddenly the CDs came, and overnight, I can assure you, the Esquire company was closed. I was very happy because I got the office. But one thing I realized, that if you don't respond to a disruption or estimate or anticipate that disruption, I think business model changes will never happen. The another lesson I learned, which is very important, is change in business model should be always thought about when you're at the peak of your business. I did that all. Why? So at the peak, you got time, you got money to experiment and take risk. Normally, people start looking at the alternate business model when they're on the down, as a no choice. But no choice situation, financially, you're very weak. The risk-taking ability is very weak. And then you're so desperate to change it. It is impossible to do a right choice at that point of time. So teach them how to take a different model situation when you are at the peak. I remember my father used to tell me that when you should leave the company is when people would ask why and not why not. So change your business model when people will ask why and not why not. I think that awareness must get into the students more so, because when they enter the business life, they are constantly aware, because these are more important techniques for the future, because technology is changing so fast, the disruptions are coming so fast. And I can assure you, most of the innovations today are not independently successful. .com is a classic example. 1999, we have gone through the .com era. It failed. Why? Because in India, for example, that time my house had 96 KB modem. Used to make some funny sound, and used to go out. I can't do a banking transaction on that. I can't do e-commerce on that. So unless that ecosystem is built today by technology, any independent innovation will not be successful. So making a choice of a right innovation into your business model is the most critical choice that you have to make. I think we must talk about it in our process. This generation, again, one of the issues, a problem that I see is the complete lack of long-term orientation. When my company was running, not being a listed company, I was so happy and we used to perform the way in which we used to do. Moment it got listed, then life became kayam se kayam, Q se Q tak, one quarter to other quarter. No long-term view, because every quarter I have to perform and inform market. Otherwise, market will punish me. I think this generation again has the same problem. They are too short-sighted. A quick success is required. And therefore, they lack the long-term orientation. I think we must make them aware of that. They must also know when to say no. We never teach anyone, even our kids, we never teach when to say no. I think in management, when to say no is so important. That helps you a lot in your own judgments, in your own choices and own decisions. Next topic I thought I got 3 minutes more. Next topic I would talk about is simplifying the complexities. Life is becoming more and more complex. And the complexities are growing, and these kids are going to face them day in and day out much more than what we face in our young age. So how to simplify the complexities? And please don't mistake that for complications. Complications are the same, but the complexities are much more. The simple policy I adopt always, and I think the kids can remember that very quickly, is a KISS policy. Keep it simple and stupid. Because when you make a choice of simple and stupid, it is easy to implement. You create a simple model, it is easy to use. You create a complex model, it is very difficult to use. So you must understand this KISS policy and keep it simple and stupid. The next point, I'm just covering it faster. Something that we don't again teach is how to manage the culture. I'm not talking about the etiquettes, I'm talking about the culture. And being a global company, we were in 138 countries. I personally traveled more than 75, 78 countries for business. A simple example I'll give you. A simple exclamation, this is interesting. When an American say it is interesting, he means that. When a Britisher say it is interesting, he doesn't mean that. And when a Japanese says, oh, it is interesting, he's telling you, I know you are bullshitting. Now, this is a cultural difference. If I'm in the United States talking or negotiating a deal, and suddenly I say, oh, don't bowl a googly to me. Now for India and UK, probably googly is very known, but Americans won't understand it. And if he suddenly says, oh, don't act like a Monday morning quarterback. The Monday morning quarterback, unless you know what the culture is, you never understand what it means. So before I go in a country, even in India, within the states also, we have different cultures. The words mean differently, different way. These are much softer factors, but very important for right decision, making a right decision. So knowing this culture, so training them with the culture, or making them aware how to manage the culture outside and within the organization is very important. Organizations are going to become flatter and flatter as you go along. There's not going to be hierarchy. They're more going to be interconnected organizations. There'll be multiple decision makers. It will not be autocratic anyway. The 5 people will have 10 choices to make. Okay, I'm done. So give me 1 minute. But at the end of the day, I think one thing we must emphasize on, and I will tell you a small story before I end. There was a village, no rains for almost 3 months. So the priest announces in the village that tomorrow morning we are going to meet and make a prayer for the rains to come. The entire village next morning, 6 o'clock, gathers near the temple. And there's one young lady at 7 years, 8 years old. She comes with the umbrella. And people ask him, there's no rain, why are you coming with umbrella? She said, no, I got a full faith that when we pray, it is going to rain. I think all of us must teach or tell our students that they must carry this umbrella every day in the morning. Because any technology, any school, any infrastructure, if your own attitude, which is the only thing you can control in life, is not full of faith and conviction, then it is absolutely of no use to learn, study, take any degrees. Success will not be with you. So my message today to you is, even to you professors, please carry that umbrella every day morning with you when you start. Otherwise, life is not worth. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for those enlightening words. Okay. Hear me out. Tougher the obstacles you face, highest is the peak you are destined for. Be your authentic self that none can emulate. Raise your vibrations that none can match the frequency of. If you are amongst the herd, then what in the universe is your unique purpose for? Be the best version of yourself. Be love. Be light. To those who win today, be ready for the next conquer. And for the rest, don't be disheartened. He wants you to shine like a star in the cosmos. The more you undergo the churn and the grind, brighter you will shine, untouched and unreachable. Once again, a big round of applause to all the participants who've come here today and participated. With this, we move on to the next segment of our awards. Our first award is the AIMS Ramaswamy P. Iyer Best Young Teacher Award. For this, I request our jury, Dr. Anil Rao, sir, to please declare the result, followed by Dr. Mrinal Falle ma'am to read the citation.
I request Dr. Sudhir Sharma to be on the dais, please. Please. Me, Dr. Anil Rao, and Dr. Sudhir Sharma were jury for AIMS Ramaswamy P. Iyer Best Young Teacher Award. We evaluated various young teachers below 40 years, and we're delighted to see all the profiles, fantastic profiles which came up. But then, as the MOC mentioned, only one can be the winner. We have today Dr. Khanindra C.H. Das from BIMTech, Noida, as a winner. Hearty congratulations, Dr. Khanindra.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my proud privilege to read the citation of Dr. Khanindra Das for AIMS Ramaswamy P. Iyer Best Young Teacher Award. Dr. Das is an assistant professor of economics at Birla Institute of Management Technology, BIMTech, Greater Noida, Delhi, NCR. He has been teaching in the postgraduate program at BIMTech since 2019. Previously, he was associated with Bennett University and Indian Institute of Management, Shillong. Dr. Das has done his PhD in economics, finance, interdisciplinary from University of Madras through Institute for Financial Management and Research, Chennai. He is MPhil in Applied Economics from Jawaharlal Nehru University and holds a master's degree in economics from University of Wockhardt. His teaching philosophy is to impart up-to-date knowledge drawn from relevant discipline that can applied in business and society. He has taught subjects such as global business environment, emerging economics, insurance economics, basic econometrics, time series forecasting, geopolitics, and risk analysis, amongst others. He has published his research work in reputed international journals. Some of the journals includes Resource Policy, Journal of Asian Economics, Singapore Economics Review, Australian Economic Review, Journal of Global Information Technology Management, International Journal of Emerging Markets, Journal of Emerging Market Finance, China Remote, amongst others. His research philosophy is to explore depth and breadth of relevant issues in order to generate knowledge through integration of discipline and ideas that can shape policy and practices in various spheres for improving business, economic, and societal outcomes. His research area includes foreign direct investment and international trade, internationalization and de-internationalization of investments, and international trade. Internationalization, resource policy, international subsidiary performance, issues in emerging economics, startups, international connectivity, South Asia, and economics of India and China. He is the editor of BIMTech, Business Perspective, a journal published from Birla Institute of Management Technology. The Association of Indian Management School takes immense pride in conferring its prestigious Ramaswamy P. Iyer Best Young Teacher Award on Khanindra Das, Assistant Professor Economics, Birla Institute of Management Technology, Greater Noida, given on 27th August 2022 at the 33rd AIMS Annual Management Education Convention 2022 at GNIMS, Mumbai. Congratulations.
I request our Director, Sir, Dr. D.Y. Patil, Sir, Group Director, Sir, to please for the award. Thank you, sir. Moving on to the next award, the AIMS ICFAI Best Teacher Award. And the recipient of this honorable award is Dr. R. Deepak from PSG Institute of Management, Coimbatore. I request our faculty FIC head HR, Dr. Sagaljit Kaur, to please come forward and read the citation.
Thank you, Chanvi. It's my privilege to read the citation for Dr. R. Deepak. Dr. Deepak began her second career as a management educator at PSG Institute of Management in 2011. She is a faculty member of the HR stream, which she now leads. She's a gold medalist in engineering from PSG College of Technology. After securing her MBA, she worked in the industry for 8 years at various senior positions. Her full-time, par excellent PhD
not only resulted in enhancing the domain knowledge, but also provided a unique set of tools and training programs for the society to benefit from. Her outstanding research on emotional intelligence and teaching has enriched her and her institute. She introduced a contemporary course, Emotional Intelligence for Managers, in the curriculum that has given students a holistic learning experience and is now mandatory. Dr. Deepak has trained executives, both in the public and private sectors, faculties, and students over the years, and has delivered more than 75 invited lectures in India and abroad. Her first book on emotional intelligence was published in 2020, a culmination of her extensive engagement in the topic. A certified NLP trainer and a counselor, Deepak is consistently rated as one of the best teachers in her institute, both by the students and her peers. Dr. Deepak's creative and innovative teaching methods have not only impacted those who attend her sessions, but have also won several national and international awards. These include AIMS WeSchool Innovation Award, IMC MBA Universe Award, and AIMS International Outstanding Management Teacher Award in 2020. Her research on emotional intelligence is well published and cited. As the head of the HR stream at PSGIM, she significantly contributed to curriculum development, industry interaction, and consultancy. She collates information and creates quality reports, which are required for institutional compliance and visibility. Apart from her teaching experience and role, Dr. Deepak successfully administers the PSG Center for Academic Research and Excellence, an initiative of the PSG Group, whose mission is to empower faculty to excel in teaching, research, and skill development. As the Chief Coordinator of CARE, Dr. Deepak has organized over 125 programs so far. The Association of Indian Management Schools takes immense pride in conferring its prestigious ICFAI Best Teacher Award on Dr. R. Deepak, Associate Professor, PSG Institute of Management, Coimbatore, on the 27th of August, 2022, at the 33rd AIMS Annual Management Education Convention 2022 at GNIMS, Mumbai. Congratulations, ma'am.
I request Dr. Kiran Yadav, sir, to please felicitate ma'am. Kiran, sir. Moving on, the AIMS National Management Week Award. For this award, I request Professor Mohammad Masood Ahmed, former President AIMS and Director MESCO Institute of Management and Computer Sciences, Hyderabad, sir, to please come and declare the result. And I would request Dr. Uday Salonke, sir, Group Director, sir, to please felicitate the award, bestow the award.
Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to call my friend, the co-jury, Professor S.S. Prasad Rao.
Respected dignitaries on the dais and galaxy of professionals and professional students, very good afternoon to everyone. We are really excited and enjoyed thoroughly the way the institutions came forward to make the presentation about the National Management Week. Friends, I have been associated with AIMS National Management Week from the year 2012, along with the brainchild, the person who is behind conducting these kind of events, Dr. Muhammad Masood Ahmad. Yesterday, while making the presentations, the energy and the excitement that has been showcased by the participants and the team leaders, we were really felt very happy that some of the institutions have showcased the best practices and which are very, very innovative. Of course, the methodology will be explained by my colleague, Professor Masood, but I wish to share the very, very uniqueness of this management week is some of the institutions are practicing it as the induction program, the student induction program. And I can correlate with this with UGC AICT induction program. Recently, I have been planning for Sharda University induction program, wherein we need not talk about the curriculum, the courses, what we are going to teach throughout the year, but it's all about inculcating the social immersion programs like values, ethics, and the student wellness programs. Very happy that most of the institutions have been doing this and making it as a culture in their business schools. Now I request Professor Masood, please.
Yeah, thank you, Professor S.S. Rao. To cut short, I think about 12 years ago, few of my elders like Professor Y.K. Bhushan, Professor M.R. Rao, and Uday Bhai is here, and Apurva, DYG. We conceptualize and design this event called AIMS National Management Week. The target was very simple. Out of 52 weeks, these B schools, right from the deans and directors, faculty and student, they must dedicate 1 week out of 52 weeks for nation building process. And we identified that week is the first week of August, that is 1st August to the 7th August, where these institutions and the student, they should leave the impact at macro level. That is the vision with my elders in 2012. And I say in Hindi, because the individuals and institutions must leave the impact at macro level. It is not the institution, beyond the institution. I say, हमारा होना भी किस काम का, हमारा होना भी किस काम का, हमारे ना होने पे कोई हमें याद ना करे. What is the significance of we as an individual and institution when we are here, and when we are not here, then nobody remembers us. So with these few words, I would like to announce the names. See, there are about 50 institutions they have been involving from last 12 years. We identify 6 out of 50, okay? And it is a highly embarrassing situation for we jury to rank them. Actually, we do not have ranking. These 6 we divide into 2 categories, first 3 and last 3. But if you ask me, all of them put more or less equal efforts, okay? I would like to recognize the efforts, energy, the last 3. So here, when we are declaring the last 3 and first 3, it is an alphabetical order, because this is the only award where we don't give the first, second, and third. We give the 3 positions at equal. So next 3, it is alphabetical order. Sanskriti Institute of Management, Puttaparthi. I think we require the round of applause for their efforts. And the next we have RV Institute of Management, Bangalore. They also put efforts in next 3. And the third one, Shri Vaishnavi Institute of Management, Indore. This is the third one in last 3. So in first 3, now I would like to call alphabetical order. The first one is Integral Institute of Advanced Management, Vizag. They have been doing from last 80 years. I would like to share one innovative activity. What we find this year, they developed something like community refrigerator, community fridge. They broke down the college compound wall and they put the refrigerator, and whoever has a food stuff left over, they can keep it voluntarily and anybody can take out voluntarily. It is Indian Institute of Advanced Management, Vizag, with an innovative activity called community fridge and refrigerator. Next in alphabetical order, it is CSI Institute, Baroda. I think they have been spending time from last 8 years and comprehensive activity with 19 activities for 7 days and collaborating with the 12 stakeholders in Baroda. I would like to request the director of the institute, CSI Institute of Management, Baroda, Gujarat. And in first the last one as per the alphabetical order, PSG Institute, Coimbatore. Put lot of efforts and the innovative activity in this institution and one more institution we find the concept called the weekend farming, where the student every Saturday and Sunday, they are going for the farming activity, sparing their time with the farmers. So in order to have the orientation about the agriculture activity and agroeconomics. PSG. Thank you, all the best, Uday and my colleague, Professor SSR.
No, sir. Thank you, everyone. Okay, moving on. Our next award is for AIMS WeSchool Innovation Award. And to declare the results, I request Dr. G.K. Shirode, sir, to please come up.
Good afternoon, all the dignitaries on the dais and my young teachers, student friends. AIMS WeSchool Innovation Award. The name itself indicates that there's something new, not only innovative, but which is more useful, having high utility value. And apart from that, along with acquisition, assimilation, and application, considering these three views, these particular innovations, which we found highly appreciable as far as their roots are concerned. I'm having with me the another jury, the Vice Chancellor, Dr. Apurva Palkar. Please do come here. Dr. Ganesh Rao was also with us, but he left because of certain reasons. Apurva, please do come. This year we had a very, I will say, the overwhelming response from the institutions, from the faculties, as well as from the student also. In all, the 20 institutions, they have participated and submitted. Out of these 20, we have shortlisted the 4 institutions. I will just read the name of these institutions for Institutional Innovation Award. First one is, these are the 4 institutions. Institute of Marketing and Management, Delhi. Sharda School of Business Studies, Greater Noida. Global Business School, Kolkata, and Goa Institute of Management, Goa. We have referred all these particular things, but because of certain reasons, the institute directors or the representatives, they could not manage to come, and they have given this particular type of the message to the Executive Secretary, AIMS. As far as the faculties are concerned, the 14 faculties, they have given their own way of the innovative ideas which they have implemented, either through delivering the sessions, maybe in the form of case studies, or maybe in the form of customized development of the pedagogy. At a faculty level, we have shortlisted the 5 faculties. First one is from ISME Bangalore, Livia Paul. Then GNIMS Mumbai, particularly in library resources, Dr. Kuljit. Then Sanskriti group of institutions, Puttaparthi, Andhra Pradesh, on teaching learning methodology. Fourth one is the D.Y. Patil Business School, Pune. It is related with the innovation model and innovative way of making learning more interesting, as well as the giving more motivation to the students and enriching the knowledge along with the skills. And one more institute is PhD Coimbatore. The PhD Coimbatore could not participate. They had certain problems, but among these 4, we declare that it was very difficult also, because it is not the first and second, but the gold medal and the silver medal. So the silver medal goes to GNMS Mumbai, particularly for the library resource, and that is Dr. Kuljit.
I request Dr. Ajit Singh sir to please felicitate ma'am.
It was also very difficult as far as declaring and selecting for the silver medal. We are having the one more institution. Both have got the similar grading and points, and it was difficult to the juries, though having experience, that only one, it was difficult. So we have given the silver medal to one more institution, and that is Sanskriti group of institutions, Andhra Pradesh, Dr. M. Bala Koteshwari.
I request the dignitaries to please felicitate ma'am.
And now, gold medal goes to Dr. D.Y. Patil Business School, Pune, to Professor Dr. Sonali Shah. Her efforts towards the delivering is a unique one. We have observed 18 different type of the solutions, the way they have delivering and passing the knowledge, imparting the knowledge to the students in different ways. And that is Dr. Sonali. As far as the student level awards are concerned, now, as far as the student level awards are concerned, we have shortlisted the 4. I will just read the names and then announce that the gold and silver. Shri Saraswati Tyagaraja Polachi, they have presented the Namma Kadai, a clothing brand, and how it is going to be executed as far as the business model is concerned. Then NL Dalmia Thane, then BVBBIMS Kolkata, Bharati Vidya Bhavan, regarding Q and e-commerce B2B, they have presented a very excellent model. And then I feel Lonavala, and that word which they have used, that is Kshana celebrates. And that Kshana celebrates is related with the woman entrepreneurship. On one hand, we are talking about the woman empowerment, but on the other hand, particularly at a rural level, at a taluka level, tahsil level, that the entrepreneurship related with the local product and with the local customers, and that matters more. And the way they have elaborated was really, really encouraging and innovating to us. Now I will announce that the silver medal goes to Shri Saraswati Tyagaraja Polaji Pomlar T. Name of the student. Yeah. I want to mention here that
Kiran sir and Dr. Diva Patil sir to please felicitate.
She found a little bit difficult to explain in English language. So what we did, yeah, let them. What I want to mention here, that she has faced a problem as far as the communication part is concerned, particularly the English language is concerned. We understood it. We have also asked some questions to them. At the same time, we have also given them a freedom to speak in your own language. And then the way she has expressed with a full confidence, and we told that we understand your language. So please refer that. And then 5-6 minutes continuously, the way she was explaining, that is what the confidence shows. That is what the inner feeling related with the business model. So congratulations. Yeah. And now again, the Kshana. Kshana means the moment, particular moment. Kshan celebrates, and that is presented by I Feel Lonavala. So the gold medal goes to Miss Rutuja Navade. Rutuja is very fluent as far as the communication part is concerned, but the way she has explained related with the how woman can become the entrepreneur and what factors required to become the entrepreneur, that was really, really a very innovative, and therefore the gold medal goes to I Feel Lonavala, Dr. Rutuja. So in all, at the faculty and student level, the juries, they have observed not only overwhelming response, but we find a lot of potential, no substitute for quality skills and the education. no substitute for making the change, and at the same time, differentiating factor as far as their whole delivery is concerned. So new way of doing and the new dimension of dealing with the different topics and the subjects, that is really innovative. The efforts which they made, that is really admiring. And therefore, the purpose of WeSchool Innovation Award is solved, because innovation always never remains stagnant. It is continuously a flow concept and new things which we have to observe. So accordingly, the special thanks to the WeSchool Innovation Award, the name itself indicates, and I heartily congratulate all the participants, those who have shortlisted also, and those who are the awardees also. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Apurva, special thanks to you.
Moving on for the next award, the AIMS Best Case Award. And I now request Professor Dr. Upinder Dhar sir to please come up and declare the result.
I would request my co-jury, Dr. Nandagopal, to come to the podium. This year, we had received 18 entries, out of which 4 were shortlisted for presentation here. So this year, the gold medal goes to the case authored by Dr. B. Uma Maheshwari, Dr. D. Kavitha, and Dr. R. Sujatha from PSG, Coimbatore. For the silver medal, there were 2 cases which were very neck to neck, very close. I would request Dr. Nandagopal to make the announcement.
The silver medal, as Professor Upinder said, we wanted to give it to 2 people to encourage them, and because both the cases were really good. The silver medal, the first one goes to Mrs. Dr. Deepa Venugopal of DG Academy of Managerial Excellence. The second silver medal, Dr. Nirmala Jain, Sri Vaishnava School of Management. Nirmala Jain, Vaishnava School of Management, Indore.
The next award is for the AIMS JL Batra Best Research Paper Award. This I request Dr. Jitendra Kumar Mishra sir to please come up.
Honorable dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, and the august gathering of intellectuals. It is indeed a pleasure to be part of the jury for prestigious AIMS JL Batra Best Research Paper Award for 2022. We received 18 participants, 18 papers were submitted, out of which, after a thorough review on various parameters of rigor and impact, we shortlisted 5 papers for presentation, out of which 2 are going to be awarded for gold and silver medal respectively. We appreciate the effort of all the participants. The papers were in good shape, but as it was a competition, we need to see their relative merit, and as a result, we had to find the best one from the submitted papers. And I'll request my co-jury, Dr. Parag Kalkar, to announce the result.
Thank you, sir. The silver medal goes to Dr. Kripa Priyadarshani M, PhD, Coimbatore. And the gold medal goes to Dr. Tapan Kumar Panda, Pro Vice Chancellor, MIT World Peace University, Pune.
Our next award is for AIMS Best Student Paper Award. And for this, I request Dr. C. Babu sir to please come on the stage. Babu.
Good afternoon, all the respected participants. This paper award competition were judged by my dear friend, Professor Chauhan and myself. And it's an honor to read the silver medalist first. The silver medalist, Ms. Aradhana Mishra, Welingkar. And the gold medal goes to Mr. Dipesh Kadam, Welingkar, Mumbai.
Moving on, our next award is for convention research paper. And for this, I request Professor P. Narayan Reddy, sir, to please come on the stage.
Very good afternoon. Myself, along with Professor Ratan Sharma, Professor Harish Purohit, acted as jury to decide the 4 best research papers on the convention. We received 27 entries, 23 full papers, shortlisted 9 and invited them to present during the convention. In fact, it was very, very tough task for us to decide who are those 4. However, we had to follow the certain standards and more so in the form of technical issues. And there is nothing like first, second, third, and fourth. There are 4 papers. I would like to read the names of the 4. Welcome. Yeah. First one goes to Dr. Shubhashrikar, Reva University, Bangalore. As she is not there, co-author Dr. Tapan Panda may come and receive the gold medal. I request Professor Purohit to announce the second gold medal.
The second gold medal goes to Dr. D. Maheshwar Reddy. Thank you, sir.
Third gold medal goes to Smita Bhatkal and Vaishali Patil. I request Purohit to announce the 4th gold medal.
The 4th gold medal goes to Dr. Mrinal Falle and Dr. Sagaljit Kaur.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to the last award for doctoral colloquium. I request Dr. Vijay Page sir to please come on the stage.
Distinguished dais and all academicians, intellectuals, and students here. We had received 3 presentations, and online they were examined by myself, Dr. Babu, Dr. Chauhan, and Dr. Rao. Unfortunately, both of them are not there. Dr. Babu is here. And we have selected the Best Doctoral Colloquium Award to Professor Sujata Natarajan, Welingkar, Mumbai. Yeah. Why you late? I thought you didn't come. Really, the subject and object matter is rarely present. I request Professor Uday to please join us, sir. Please, sir. Please join us, sir. Please come.
We would now like to move towards the felicitation ceremony. So I request Mr. M. Venkateshwarlu sir to please come on the stage, Executive Secretary AIMS. And I request Dr. Ajit Singh sir to felicitate. Now I request Professor Kiran sir, Dr. Kiran sir to please felicitate Dr. Divya Patil sir, our past president AIMS. I request our President Dr. Ajit sir to please felicitate Mr. Sudhir Sharma, AIMS Regional Vice President. request the dignitaries to please felicitate Dr. Sujata Chinsolkar, ma'am, Executive Board Member, AIMS. Ma'am, please. Before we move towards the culmination of the ceremony with vote of thanks, I request all the new board members, after the vote of thanks, please proceed to the conference hall, second floor, for 10 minutes before the lunch. And now I call upon Dr. Jyotinder, ma'am, to please come forward. Yes. Yes. And I also request...
vote of thanks के पहले sir will introduce the new president भूल गई आप.
I request Dr. Ajit Singh, sir, to please come forward and introduce the new incoming president.
Good afternoon, and we are moving toward good evening. Only the last ceremony is there, but before I go to that, since I'm supposed to hand over the task to Dr. Ramaswamy Nandgopalji, I'd like to thank one and all who have extended their cooperation, blessings, and help during my entire tenure. Before that, I would like to congratulate Anil, Paila, and Deepak, Ghaisas for being conferred with the Ramaswamy Award, and I would like to thank all my subordinates who have been associated with me during the entire tenure, all the past presents, and especially who had been available to me 24/7, Dr. Diva Patel ji, Dr. Uday Salunke ji, for giving me all the support. My management, Dr. G.S. Babaji, Bhupinder Singh Kirji, and the member of our governing council. I'll also like to thank all board members of our executive board, my immediate past president, Sujata Mangraji, and above all, of students who stood like a rock behind us. So before I proceed further, I'll request my colleague, Dr. Jyotinder Kaurji, to read the profile of the incoming President, Dr. Ramaswamy Nandgopalji.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my privilege to introduce the incoming president of AIMS, Dr. Ramaswamy Nandgopal. Congratulations, sir. Dr. Ramaswamy Nandgopal is the Director General of Shri Saraswati Tyagaraja College, Coimbatore. He has over 3 decades of academic experience, serving in various capacities at leading institutions such as Institute of Public Enterprise, Hyderabad, and Loyola College, Madras. He specializes in the area of financial management and restructuring of organization. He's the founder member of EBBS and has held leadership positions in national and regional organizations such as IMA, AIMS, CII, ICC, CMA, and Productivity Council, and is currently on the Board of Commissioners at ACBSP. Dr. Ramaswamy Nandgopal received his PhD in finance in 1985 from the University of Madras and MCom and MPhil from University of Madras, MBA from Madurai Kamraj University, and did advanced management program from the Department of Management Science, University of Leeds, the United Kingdom. He has been awarded the Honorary Citizen of Toledo, Ohio, for his contribution to the Indo-American Education Initiative. He has published 75 articles in national and international journals and is the author of 17 books on management. Thank you, sir. Congratulations.
Permit me to welcome the present President, Dr. R. Nandgopalji, with a bouquet. I'll request Nandgopalji, if he's interested in saying few words only and addressing me as a past president.
Distinguished guests on the dais and off the dais, very good afternoon to you. I think our past president has instructed me to complete my speech only within few minutes. I will make it few seconds. I thank all the past presidents, members of AIM institution, showing their faith in me in electing me as the president for the coming year. I recall my work with AIMS, almost I was associated with AIMS 25 to 30 years back. I am also acknowledge the help and also mentorship of Professor Ramaswamy P. Iyer, who brought me to the AIMS board 15 years back. Because of him, I was inducted to the AIMS board, and I grew with a lot of management gurus and past presidents. I hope next coming year, with the support of the senior past presidents and also the executive board members, we will come out with a lot of activities for the benefit of the stakeholders of AIMS. And I am also looking forward to see all of you at Coimbatore in the next convention. Thank you very much.
Before formal vote of thanks, I would like to thank our leader who led us throughout the year and would like to acknowledge his efforts throughout the year by offering him a bouquet.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Dr. Ajit Singh, President AIMS, now immediate past President AIMS, and Director General of Guru Nanak Institute of Management Study, Group of Institutes, I have the privilege of proposing the vote of thanks this afternoon. I begin by thanking the Almighty for his blessings. Co-piloted by Dr. D.Y. Patil and Dr. Kiran Yadav, the flight, that's the 33rd AIMS convention, flew through different weathers and has landed successfully this afternoon. Preparations began months in advance. Faculty, staff, and students came together and deliberated on the final nuances so that a successful convention could be organized. At the onset, I'd like to thank our parent body, Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee for their support in hosting this event. I would like to thank Gurudwara Singh Sabha, Dadar, management of GNIMS Business School and Guru Nanak Institute of Management Studies, our group director, Dr. D.Y. Patil, director and convention head, Dr. Kiran Yadav, for their guidance and support. I would extend my gratitude to Dr. Uday Salunke, group director, WeSchool, for his constant support and motivation. I would like to thank the sponsors and event partners, D.Y. Patil University, WeSchool, Balaji University, Sengar Group of Institutes, Forum of Management Institute, and Friends of AIMS. Here, I would make a special mention of AIMS Secretariat, with whom we coordinated the event. I would like to thank all former presidents of AIMS, Executive Board of AIMS, directors of different B schools, and principals from different colleges across Mumbai. Besides all the teams working tirelessly for the convention, I also want to thank the people who worked behind the scene to execute this event. Our technical arrangement team, the stage setting and the lighting team, all musicians, and the audio visual team. I would like to thank our chief guest, guest of honor, keynote speakers, and members of different plenary sessions who accepted our invitation and took time out from their busy schedule to be with us during the convention. Their thoughts have truly inspired us. Our sincere gratitude goes out to all the participants, family members, and well-wishers for their rock-solid support and encouragement. Without their support, the students would not have been able to excel. Thank you very much for joining the event. I will place on record our appreciation for our accommodation and logistics partners, stationery vendors, printers, and memento and gift suppliers. I would like to thank our caterers who served us sumptuous food on all days. Aditya Jyoth Hospital, Sain Hospital, and all the doctors and staff who provided medical assistance on all 3 days. Mumbai Police for all the security arrangements, and members of the press and media who covered the event. A word of appreciation for the hard work put in by the faculty, IT team, the admin team, members of the library, security staff, and all other staff members. I would also like to thank my budding rock stars who made this event energetic with their impressive performance. The hard work of your days was evident in your act. All the performances were very good, and each of us present here enjoyed thoroughly. I would like to acknowledge all the work put in by the student volunteers. Last but not the least, applause for all the students from GNIMS Business School, Guru Nanak Institute of Management Studies, and other business schools from Mumbai and outside for their participation in making this event a grand success. Thank you, everyone, and safe travels back home.
Hello. I think the best are forgotten, and that is the law of nature. And therefore it becomes my duty that before we disperse, we should not forget Dr. Kiran Yadav, who has been working day and night to make this convention a success. The entire credit of what is being enjoyed goes to him on behalf of all of us, and in the form of a token of love, we would like to felicitate him with a beautiful bouquet.
Request everyone to rise for the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता